All right, what is up? Testing 1, 2, 3. We are live. The REMINGTOM pod is here. The NFC Championship game is kicked off. The Rams are taking the field. Stafford is in the huddle. Unfortunately, the AFC Championship testing. Hey, yo. Oh, good thing it's a good thing our mic cut out when we were talking about the AFC Championship game because we don't want to talk about it. Hey, yo. It is what it is. Painful memories for non-Patriots fans that were growing up in the 2010s. You know, obviously our mistress team, the Broncos as well, too, unfortunately bounced from the playoffs today. I would say not necessarily an improbable run for a 1 seed, but I mean, especially now the circumstances, you know, the run unfortunately has come to an end. Pause. But the NFC Championship game, you know, a little bit more of the, I would say, prestigious battle in a way, because of course on one side we do have Stafford, the actual, you know, the MVP potentially of the league this year, but the former actual Super Bowl winning quarterback himself, the one guy with the playoff legacy in that type of way. And the Seahawks, I guess, themselves a 1 seed. You know, it's difficult to say that Darnold is a little bit more playoff proven than Bo Nix. He definitely is more, in a way, regular season proven than Bo Nix, except for one problem, except for the Rams. And he was able to find success in the regular season against them this year. So with the way that they've played against the other teams, I don't know if that kind of wipes away some of the fact that, you know, it was like 3 pretty tough games there that he did play against the Rams. They're a little bit of a team that kind of, you know, I don't know if you put him in the has a number category. And it does seem like, I don't know if we've gotten away from that. I would say maybe Philly-Tampa has been one of those weird playoff situations. And obviously Philly has won a couple Super Bowls here, so it's not like Tampa has, you know, kept them from a ton of playoff success. But that is a feisty matchup, and Philly fans, you know, obviously now, you know, the sky is falling. But maybe at the peak of their powers, they're like, you know, Tampa could be a feisty team. But, you know, ayo, for people that were watching the Colts back in the day as well, too, we know that there's a, you know, like a Colts-Chargers sort of a matchup situation that's like, it doesn't really matter what the Chargers record is or, you know, home field advantage. Just like, you just don't want to see this team in the playoffs. The matchup is tough. Darnold a little bit in that with the Rams, and, you know, back with the Vikings as well, too. He did have his matchup problems with the Lions. I guess, you know, fortunately, he also was able to avoid them in the playoffs this year as well. But I guess we'll see if that win from the regular season is the performance that carries over or not. And with the way that the defense was swarming around as well, too, I mean, that's clearly become, especially with the last game, you know, the theme of the playoffs. I mean, the weather in this one maybe a little bit more, you know, conducive. Is that the right word there? Conducive, a little bit more, you know, it's setting itself up for a better game. Obviously, the conditions by the end of the Broncos game there was pretty tough. And then they did the cut to the Patriots Stadium, and it's like, you can't even hope that this, you know, it's like Broncos fans can't even wish at this point that this game was in Boston. It's like, the weather's actually worse there. Hey, yo. Turns out there's more snow in Boston. Who knew? But, yeah, I mean, obviously the conditions there were pretty tough by the end of it. So we'll see if just the offense, you know, picks up just because of that. Obviously, maybe the offense with the quarterback plays, like we're saying in this one, could be better, but the defenses can step up. And, you know, like we said, the Rams defensive line, and I think maybe their secondary as well, too, a little underrated. I mean, the personnel in the Seahawks secondary, you're definitely probably drafting it in a, you know, a defensive fantasy draft, before some of the names in the Rams secondary. But Cam Curl can step up and make a play. I mean, these Rams defenders, shout out, are, again, very, very capable. And the defensive line can get pressure and make life difficult. And if Darnold does, you know, if Stafford does have the mental advantage there, that is a major, major thing. And I don't know if you would just pick that over. Oh, Chapa Darnold, Shaheed has been a game changer this whole playoffs. You know, obviously JSN didn't have his biggest stats game in the last game. I think Cooper Kupp led the Seahawks in receiving yards in the last playoff game. But Shaheed with the punt return, or the kickoff return, was the tone setter, the game changer. And now with the big play up the sideline, you know, they're actually utilizing him in the offense in the right ways. You go back and pause and look at his stats in the regular season, and it's like, okay, you know, clearly there's a dynamic element here that I don't know if they were just kind of saving, but they definitely could have, hit that a couple more times as well. And we've got this NFL Game Center stream up on an alternate TV as well too for this Rams Seahawks game. And I don't know, is this live? They've got like an X's and O's version of the broadcast, which I guess is kind of cool. If you get, I guess you can watch the game for free anyways, national TV. But I guess if you want to tap into pause, you can see like a film game plan version. I think it is a couple plays ahead, which is why maybe I'm thrown off. But I don't know, is it a rerun as well too? Darnold 0 for 1. I guess he did just hit a pass. So, oh no, there's the play to Sheet. Oh, it's a couple plays behind. There's the play to Shaheed up the sideline. Okay, I was waiting for that. There we go. So I guess we get a little rerun X's and O's. We'll have to actually pay attention to the live feed as well too. Kenneth Walker, 1st and goal. The Rams maybe McVay, maybe they take a second to get going. I don't know. It is what it is. But both of these teams, the Broncos were the one team that had like the legacy sort of, at least in the 21st century here. There is a little bit of that mental legacy advantage over the Patriots. Obviously if we go into a Rams-Patriots Super Bowl, it's like, yikes, there's some bad memories there. And, I guess Patriots-Seahawks Super Bowls, obviously, we don't want to bring those up. What would Mike McDonald do at the goal line? These goal-to-go situations with Kenneth Walker, maybe they'd prove the point. But, with as good as Kenneth Walker played, I guess, you obviously, who's a better running back than Kenneth Walker? Oh, yeah, Marshawn Lynch. Maybe, now we're wondering, now we're getting ahead of ourselves. Pause. But is this 3rd and goal? A chance to make a stop, and Kenneth Walker was, again, like we were saying, JSN didn't have his biggest stats day, in the last time. The passing game, at least from a number standpoint, a little bit down, and a lot of that was because the run game was so successful, obviously, as well, too. And last year we saw, Barkley be a big reason why the Eagles were able to make their run. There's Walker to the outside for the touchdown. The first 2 runs, it looked like it would be pretty difficult for them to keep it out of the end zone, even though, it was a short gain there for the first 2. They were consistently pushing the line. And, the running back position has obviously been devalued from a contract standpoint and from a team building standpoint. But a couple of teams here now have emerged from the NFC that have been, run game defensive focused. And Darnold as well, too, is an investment in the quarterback. It's not like, a drafting, rookie contract or whatever. But he is not necessarily, a max contract guy in that type of way. It is that weird thing in the NFL compared to the NBA where, the Seahawks, like we're saying, do obviously have stars. They have best players, all around. Like we said, their defense is stacked. Their offense is obviously very, very, very capable, very, very high powered. And Darnold is very, very great at running this system. But, obviously you don't necessarily have to have like a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander leading your team that can just, be, I guess, like a definite best player. Like you can have the balance of, the totality of everything can obviously equal that. And the Patriots are in a little bit of that as well too this year. And Drake May as a name can obviously become that, with his career at the quarterback position. Other guys on the roster as well too. Will Campbell, But, obviously he has that potential to become one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. So it's not like this playoff performance is necessarily representative of who he has been per se in the playoffs or in the regular season. And, there have been games where he has made really, really big plays as well too. The offense has been very, very successful, very, very, very favorable for him. His matchups have been very, very favorable for him this year as well too. They took advantage of a very easy schedule and it helped him get a great record. But again, you take a look at that Bills game, of course, where he made some iconic plays, and that's like he did step up and make some game-winning plays when they needed him to make them there. And that's obviously why he was getting in the MVP case. And like we're saying, his name obviously can continue to grow from a legacy standpoint, but it's not like if we were doing necessarily the NFL 100 rankings, and maybe Drake May's name will be up there in the NFL 100 rankings or something like that as well too. Maybe we're just not adjusting for the modern day. The shifts in this stuff can happen quickly sometimes, and guys can find themselves up the list. Maybe Darnold really is like a top 20 player in the NFL as well. Or, again, like Witherspoon, Eman Wari continuing to, impress as talent. But it is like the best, the most balanced teams in a way that have made it this far in the playoffs. And, I don't know if this is, again, like how early can we bring up the Chiefs as well too? But obviously, a reason that they've made the runs, but a reason that they've, in an AFC like this, where you're just looking at kind of a random landscape and you're just like, okay, what is going to happen? And again, maybe we're just not being honest. It's like, okay, it's time for this team to take over. But, again, that sort of instant name value as well, too, is still kind of emerging. But, hey, Shaheed is definitely becoming a star playoff player as well too, and Kenneth Walker. We have to give him his credit, like we're saying. But hey, I mean, this Broncos Patriots game. I know we said we don't want to talk about it, but it is what it is. I guess it is the other game that happened, so we have to mention it. But it is going to be a painful one for Broncos fans to look back and remember, because going into the game, I was definitely thinking for a second if the potential of the question mark at the quarterback position was honestly going to be like not a good thing for the season, but to kind of have the season end with with a question mark instead of a definite end. Like if you go into a game against the Patriots, obviously, and you lose at full strength, and it is like it is, you lose the game. You just go, I guess the Super Bowl this year, we're just a little bit short. It's just not meant to be. But you have like we're saying, the potential question mark of the Bo Nix starting. If that game is close, like it is in this one, you go, oh, obviously if we had Bo Nix, what would be the potential in the game? Hey, our basketball game just crashed. We got Spurs Pelicans ready to start. We can't miss that. As important as, these conference championship games are. We are basketball journalists. We do have to keep up with the NBA as well. But again, I was wondering if that question mark would be, again, a thing that in the offseason maybe be a beneficial, it's like, hey, we don't exactly know what this Broncos team could have done if we were fully healthy. If we had the Bo Nix was there, maybe there is that potential that they would have won. But, looking at this game, you didn't even need Bo Nix. And that's going to be the painful thing. The painful thing is they could have won this game with Stidham. And I keep even going back through the play-by-play. I mean, obviously, again, a low-scoring 10-7 game. There's going to be a lot of punts and a lot of drives and a lot of scenarios. What ifs? Oh, Stafford down the field to Puka. Oh, he gets him at the 25. A big play to, light up the first quarter. And it was a JSN, Puka Nacua showdown, obviously, in the regular season when these teams were matching up. And Puka was having, equal to better stats in the game that I think the Rams lost. But, JSN was awesome in that game as well, too. But like we're saying, I guess Puka would be one of those guys that would be, if we were doing the NFL 100 rankings verse as well, too. And maybe we're just now being, do we just like some of these, do we just like verse more than? I would say we do really like Eman Wari, though, as well, too. And Witherspoon's, one of our guys for corner. So it's not like, we're not unbiased toward the Seahawks defense as well. I just don't know if those, like we're saying, those guys have the same sort of name value. But I think Eman Ward was a Pro Bowler, so he is emerging there, and he might have been an All-Pro as well too. If he's an All-Pro, I take it back. It is what it is. They have obviously massive talent. We should just rewind to see when they introduced the starting lineups and see what they had, hovered over their names there. And he almost had Puka again in the end zone. He kind of missed him, kind of overthrew him. Nacua had a step there. And I don't know, just because I guess, don't forget about Devontae Adams. Like, with as much as Stafford obviously focuses on Nacua, and with as good as he is, being able to collect that type of production, you kind of get into that mindset of like, oh, do they have the number? It's like, no, yeah, the way is they do have Devontae Adams still, which, again, makes him deadly for having that run. But you should also be able to, hopefully be able to, go through your reads as well, too. Hopefully there's a couple options there with what McVay is, or, at least a option over the course of a play with the way McVay's able to scheme this up. Because, again, the Seahawks defense is good, so you imagine that not everything is going to be there. And Stafford a little behind Nakua there as well. That was short of the stick, so 3rd and 10. This is a closer field goal, not necessarily changing too much there. I don't know if they would have gone for 4th down if he would have caught that. But just off on a couple of throws. He hits obviously the bomb to get them into decent field goal territory. And that's assuming that, assuming they convert the field goal here. We can't necessarily lock it in. The 12th man. Harrison Mevis? Hey, yo, 4 for 4. Do we say it, Chet? Yikes, I don't know if that counts. Was it close? Okay, I guess it doesn't count. We didn't complete the announcer jinx stats read there. So he does make it 3-7, but hey, yo, now you got to cross your fingers a little bit, hope that defense can step up and get a stop as well. We know things can spiral quickly. And again, that 40-point performance as well, too. Was that a game? Was it that spiral quickly type of thing? Or are the Seahawks just, going to have this type of run in the playoffs here? Because, this drive is definitely going to be telling. But yeah, going back to the Broncos Patriots again, like scrolling through, I'm just like, where was the lost opportunities? And it was in some of the the missed field goals as well too. Like they did have the amount of drives to win the game. It was a little kind of like Miami versus Indiana, where we were watching that game. It's like, hey, the Miami offense kind of outscored the Indiana offense. They were able to make some defensive and some special teams plays, and the Patriots were able to block a field goal as well, but they had the missed field goal at the end of the half that could have made it 10-7, and then the Patriots had that 16-play drive which chewed up the third quarter, which, again, looking back, obviously was the drive that gave them the game-winning field. The game-winning field goal was the first drive in the third quarter, it turns out, looking back. But ultimately, again, an impressive drive the way they were able to get physical pause and run the football and, have an impressive amount of time control there. But even still, again, a game like this is actually totally fine for what the Broncos were looking for, I think, in this playoff matchup. And they're, you look at some of their playoff games and some of their games in the regular season as well too, and it is a sneaky, especially with the way they had to, maybe go crazy in some fourth quarters as well too. Like there was some sneaky offensive firepower capabilities to this team. I guess again, it's not necessarily like, are they going to outscore every opponent? But it was kind of trending that way, even though the defense, you would say, would have been the stronger unit of this team. But like we're saying, regardless, it didn't have to be that type of matchup. This is actually perfect. A slow defensive battle, even if it is a lot of time of possession for New England, it's just about controlling field position in the right way and giving yourself, again, the opportunities at the end of the game to be able to secure a lead, or with one of those last drives. And they did absolutely do that. So even with the 16 play drive in the third quarter, again, impressive. Broncos immediately 3 plays, 6 yards, they punt, and New England missed a field goal as well too. So they had some opportunities that they definitely left on the board there as well too. Hey, if we're giving everybody all their points, like that would have made it, I guess, that would have made it 10-13 if the Broncos would have made their field goal earlier. But if they miss and the Patriots make this one, 13-7 is the Broncos needing a touchdown, a little bit of different pressure there with them just needing a field goal. But then they did, get a field goal opportunity late in the fourth quarter as well too. And then, like we're saying, the Patriots were able to step up and block that one. And then Stidham had the interception late where, again, it's like Jared Stidham game-winning drive in the playoffs. Is that like the ideal scenario that you want as a Broncos fan? But again, close game, slow battle type game, and you have an opportunity in the fourth quarter with an ending drive to take the lead or a tie. Like that is a good recipe for obviously winning this type of playoff game. And unfortunately, Stidham just, not making a great pass at the end and gets it intercepted. And, again, you have to give the Patriots credit for them grinding this out and their defense being able to step up and win the game for them. But this is one where, again, with the Broncos and not even playing, like we're saying, a great game all the way through, like it looked like Sean Payton was going to have a masterclass early in the game with the way he was getting the defense kind of moving around, and they pressured him they pressured Stidham early in that first drive where it was like, okay, if Stidham's running around, having to face this pressure, then that's definitely going to be an issue. You're going to be wanting those quick reads, even with, Bo Nix there as well, too. Obviously, Bo Nix has got some creation abilities, but you'd still not necessarily want him, having to be like Mahomes navigating everything, or Josh Allen. You still want to have a little bit of a game plan there before the pressure gets there. But he was getting him moving around in the pocket the next drive and kind of shifting the offense around and being able to, create some plays. And it does, again, I think, we do have to look back at this season, at least for me personally as well, too. And I think give Bo Nix a little bit more credit for what he was able to achieve. And maybe even for the Bo Nix standpoint, like we're saying, is there that question mark of what would have been, even like, put Sam Darnold in the Broncos. Is it a worse situation than the Seahawks? I don't know. Again, obviously the Seahawks could be in the Super Bowl here, could be winning a Super Bowl. So I'm not saying that Sam Darnold wants to go to the Broncos over the Seahawks. I'm just saying that if we go to like Pro Bowl level quarterback play for the Broncos, is it even more of a lock that this team is like Seattle for the AFC? I don't know. But again, with as productive as their offense was this year, and this game, like we're saying, did have the weather as well too, that became a big factor. Like, you can't necessarily be underrated that there is those bad conditions involved. Again, like for the Patriots as well too, like the entire game, just shuts down, and both defenses are great. It just becomes like a, like an SEC. It's like an Alabama LSU SEC game at this point. But again, their offense was highly productive this year, and oftentimes 30, 40 points is what it would, even as good as their defense was, it would be times where their offense would be in the position to have to win the game. And Bo Nix was really clutch for him and was a big player even in the playoffs here. And I think, like I was saying when he got hurt, I was definitely starting to mentally get to the place where it's like this team, like we're saying, at some point, enough of the field becomes eliminated where you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. But it's like, oh yeah, they can actually win the Super Bowl with Bo Nix as the quarterback. Again, I don't know if I would predict it in every game. Drake May's still the better quarterback going into the matchup, but there is a level of confidence that you just are going to have with the way that Bo Nix was playing on this team. And like I'm saying, you get the Sean Payton element in there as well too, being able to have some good drives, and the fact that, and you have to give Stidham a little bit as credit as well too. And the Broncos do have good weapons, but there is a level to where their weapons do need the scheme to be able to have the production where, like even the last couple of playoff games, they've really needed RJ Harvey and like his sort of yards after the catch creation type of stuff to be able to just like, okay, if we don't necessarily have a play, or if we don't have an option on a play and Stidham just needs to dump it off, or we just pause, we just need to get quick yardage somewhere, like who's a guy that we can just get the ball to easily to just create some free yardage. And they didn't really even have a run game as well too to speak of. Like we're saying, the Patriots didn't have one for much of the game, but they did have one on a drive where, it did end up becoming the game-winning field goal. But for Nix to really not have any of that, and, obviously some of the running backs over the course of the year have gotten hurt as well, too. The run game was pretty good to start the year, I guess. Dobbins for like 3 weeks, is, when he's healthy, he's obviously going to be some decent fantasy stats there. But, McLaughlin as well, too. Like, I don't even, is he even hurt or healthy? I don't even know where he has been. And, a little kind of market corrected in a way by RJ Harvey, like we're saying. But there just wasn't necessarily those easy yards type of guy, where even JSN as well too. Maybe that was, scheme for Sean Payton. Could they have had Cortland Sutton be a little bit of that? I'm not sure. But even JSN's a guy who, of course, can obviously route up guys down the field and, run great plays. Or if you need to throw him a screen route and he's just going to yards after the catch, navigate, just be a really good ball carrier for a possession or two. Or they have Shaheed for that as well too now. But, again, if it was narrowed down to before, where it was just like JSN in the regular season having to carry everything. But, and Cortland Sutton, like we're saying, is a great number one receiver who can win jump balls down the field, great red zone threat, great just in route safety net type guy for a quarterback to have. Oh, speaking of JSN though, oh man, what a one-handed snag. 3rd and 2, gets him inside the 10. An easy, he definitely needed to reach out a little bit for that one, but that was just an easy snag out of the air. That was just practice for him. Yeah, he might not have been able to, that would have been a dive with 2 hands if he had tried. Darnold definitely, maxing the catch radius there for JSN. But again, the gloves, also the talent, I'm sure. I don't know. If he was from Michigan, would we credit the gloves? I'm not sure, but again, you have to consider it a top level highlight. The cornerback doing a good job. He just was like one step in front, one more step. He wouldn't have been there to break up the pass, but maybe when he karate chopped down afterwards, he would have been able to hit the forearm. And then who knows, is he able to knock it out? Because when he hits him on the shoulder, and there's just, not quite enough to you really see you don't really see the impact in JSN at that point to, again, jar the ball free as well. Pause. So Darnold, do we mention that he's 6 for 7 in passing attempts? I guess we did at this point. But first and goal, they just go into the run game, keep it simple. Again, 3 to 4 yards every time. Even if the Rams defense is holding up, it still just is tough. Ooh, it's a penalty on Seattle. So this is the game-changing type stuff here. I guess, is that the first penalty of the game? So, the Rams playing a clean first quarter up until this point. So, Darnold's going to have to throw in the red zone. Is that the thing that terrifies him? But, again, with JSN kind of running across the field and with the way Shaheed's been able to create yards after the catch and, even Walker out of the backfield, some of these running backs in the passing game, like, I can't imagine you'd feel too bad about Darnold. And again, he's going to have confidence off of a 40-point playoff performance. Like, at some point, I guess you're just going to have to trust him to be the maximum version of the team. And they do look like they set up, an easy pass. They set up a screen. They had JSN kind of running the fake screen out to the left and then set it back up for Kenneth Walker to the right. And it is successful as well, too. It gets them kind of back to 3rd and goal around the 10. So I don't know if they'll run this here and then set themselves up for a field goal, because obviously the incompletion is going to, have the same result there. And maybe you set yourself up for another simple pass. And I was going to say, I don't know if they don't want Darnold throwing into the middle of the field, because JSN was across the field by the time he made that read. I don't know if his, save that read for last when JSN gets over there, or if he just didn't throw it until then or what. But they've got a pass out to the tight end, one-on-one, nothing really going there. Kind of threw it low and away, and it hit the ground before it even got to the receiver. So, again, is that coaching on the safety of the passes, or, a little bit of inaccuracy there? But they did have JSN sitting in the middle of the field. I think he was trying to take away a couple of the defenders and actually intentionally leave the tight end over there one-on-one. But again, kind of a tough throw, because the defender did fall down. So I almost wonder if he would have had an opportunity. They're kind of calling for a foul there, but again, the defender fell down. The receiver really didn't. So we could go back and check. Did he pull his arms down while he was falling as well? But it looked like maybe a little bit of a better pass would have potentially set them up there. But 10-3 gives you obviously still a 7-point lead, which is obviously, again, still a good spot to be in. We're almost already at the amount of offense in this first quarter that we were at in Broncos Patriots. So like we're saying, the potential for a high scoring game here, a high flying matchup, compared to what we just had as well. But yeah, again, like credit to Bo Nix this year. And it is, like we're saying, I don't know how to still wrap my head around where it is big picture as well too, which I think again is sort of the difficult thing, because for the mental picture was definitely for this season, like with the way the level of the field was playing out, again, the home field advantage with the confidence that he was starting to have in this team. It was becoming a real thing that this year, this team was obviously very, very competitive. Next year, and, we have to, Bo Nix, I guess he did break his ankle, right? So, like, what week is he even going to be ready? Like, it is obviously a weird injury that he was playing on the broken ankle there, but, he's probably going to be missing weeks now to start the year. And I don't know, Stidham's 7-point performance in the conference championship. I don't know if you're confident in him now to lead you in a couple of games in the regular season if you have to. But, like, just assuming Bo Nix is back healthy for week 1, like, good to go, whatever sort of, year-to-year progression that he would have for being a younger player. Like, I still don't really know where to categorize him in the larger picture of the NFL. And is it one of those things where, like, again, the Broncos aren't probably going to be, like, actively like, well, I guess let's time to see what's out there for quarterback. Like, let's actively shop Bo Nix. And then, obviously it becomes, what are your options as well, too? It's not really like the NBA where you're just like, obviously the NBA now, but the NBA in the past where you could just call about guys and see what was going on. But again, it's still with this defense and with this personnel, still a very, very competitive team, and you're gonna have the Chiefs. Obviously Mahomes trying to gear up for week 1, but we'll see what the Chiefs are going to be looking like in terms of a rebuild. Fernando Mendoza year 1, is he able to turn that team around right away, or do they need a couple of years to get things under the system? And then, the Chargers as well are obviously going to be a dangerous team in the preseason with Herbert and Harbaugh and those guys, but their ability to stay healthy has obviously been a real thing over the last couple of years. So you hate to say it in January before we even get to the Super Bowl, before we get to week 1 of next year, but it's like, are the Chargers going to stay healthy in 2026? We could just, you have to ask the question every year, I guess. It is what it is. So, again, there are obviously, signs pointing in the right direction, things to feel good about as a Broncos fan, big picture with this as a competitive team, but I think Benito might be a free agent as well, too. So it's like, you start paying guys a little bit, worth every penny for sure. You're not going to hesitate for giving him whatever contract. Are you going to go Howie Roseman with this situation and start, letting guys walk in free agency and try to replace them with the draft picks and stuff? I don't think you get super creative there. But, this was definitely a little bit of a window that was opening up for him this year, and maybe for all these teams, and maybe it is that way, like we're saying, with the quarterback landscape changing or just not having the same names that we have had in the past in the end of the playoffs. But yeah, definitely a tough one. And like you win this AFC Championship game against the Patriots, you go to the Super Bowl against the Rams and the Seahawks. You still have to have Stidham as the quarterback. It's not like Bo Nix is going to be back for the Super Bowl. And like we're saying, even in this first quarter, there's just a level of crispness that and like we're saying, Darnold is even a little bit more veteran than Drake May. I don't know if we're just like locking in, hey, would you rather have Darnold right now in a playoff game over Drake May? But maybe he's just, a little bit more ready in the first quarter and right away to be prepared for a conference championship type of moment. And, again, Drake May was, fine today. As a, literally just fine, I guess, but still, enough for them to be able to get the win is, credit where credit is due. But it still would be difficult to imagine the Broncos getting a win against that. Again, it is the home field advantage. It is the younger team as well, too, because, that does matter. The rookie quarterback, Drake May, was definitely playing it very, very safe in the first half and very, very casual at times as well, too. But, all of those things matched up at least get you into the Super Bowl. And again, I don't know what that even means for Broncos. Like, okay, we were in the Super Bowl this year with Bo Nix. Is that... Are you building this whole dynasty to get in the Super Bowl? Obviously not. You're trying to take the trophy home. It is what it is. Or, are we saying building a dynasty? Yeah. But, are you building, are you investing in all these different ways where you're making the big head coaching investment in Sean Payton? You have made the big quarterback trade in the past, and, that didn't work out, but that led you to have to take Bo Nix. And obviously the Bo Nix pick, like we're saying, was working to some degree in the regular season, but that did, in a way, force your hand, for better or worse, to draft him in that spot in the first round. And, again, you end up with a starter as well, too. So it probably wasn't the worst thing in the world that it did end up happening. And the way that Sean Payton's been able to bring him along, like, I'm sure that hasn't, that hasn't hurt him as well, too, in terms of his production. But, yeah, it is going to be a painful one to look back and think about. And, again, you get the snow starting to fall in that game as well, too. The run game hadn't quite picked up yet, but it's like, okay, if we can get the run game going, there's some flashbacks to like a Osweiler, CJ. If only they had CJ Anderson in this game to help them, because you get the flashbacks like Osweiler on a Sunday night on the snowy. And was that in New England or was that in Denver? I forget. But, again, I guess the scenery can be the same either way. But, you get the backup quarterback going into the hostile, the underdog scenario, and still being able to emerge out we're gonna say out on top, still able to emerge victorious. But unfortunately, like we're saying, the interception late in the fourth quarter opportunities were not able to happen. But the defense played obviously very, very fantastic and did everything that they needed to do to be able to win. So it is going to be, difficult. And the Patriots as well, like we're saying, this is not the NFC is, I guess you could look at this NFC championship a little bit like the Super Bowl. I think that, in some ways we could think that both these teams are better than both the other teams in the AFC. But the history, the 21st century history of the Rams versus the Patriots and the Seahawks versus the Patriots in the Super Bowl is definitely something to. I think it's something to consider. It's definitely going to be, weighing on our mental, depending on what the matchup is here. It's to be like, okay, we get, even though, McVay and Stafford is a lot different than McVay and Goff. McVay and Stafford versus Vrabel and Drake May. Again, still a good matchup. A lot different than McVay and Goff versus Brady and Belichick. It is what it is. And I know that Vrabel and Drake May are definitely going to get compared to Brady and Belichick. I mean, it is fair to some degree because, again, it is that direct same team lineage. So, they're bringing back that winning ways, those winning ways from Belichick and Brady. And, I don't know how far do we want to go on the comparisons for Drake May and Tom Brady? Hey, yo. But, you get a young franchise quarterback kind of not, do we say being carried in this game by a defense, being powered on a team by a defense in a run game and being able to win these turnovers, special teams, low scoring battles, again, big drives late in the game or early in the third quarter, depending on how you want to look at it. And maybe that quarterback potential for more down the line as a franchise guy is there as well too. But they did do a stats comparison for, again, speaking of this NFL Game Center broadcast, hey, yo, shout out. They did do a little stats thing that said that something about Drake May, I think, winning. It was either games on the road or games on the road as a rookie or both, something like that. But I was just focused on the fact that they had him compared there to Roethlisberger from the 2005 season, the year that they were able to get to the Super Bowl. And I guess they did play Seattle as well, too. So I don't know if that is telling there, because you would have, Brady in his first Super Bowl playing the Rams. So does the opponent that Drake May plays determine on who he's, what the career is more likely to be? But that one was like a much more like, oh, okay, pump the brakes type of realistic, again, even Roethlisberger is somewhat an unrealistic comp because, again, obviously he's very, very successful quarterback. But, again, if we're going to start comparing him to Brady, it's like, okay, what does that mean? I get that there can be a clutchness, a play style, a processing, there can be there can be crossovers of the Venn diagram for a way a guy plays. But again, the way Brady was able to translate that into success, it's like he just obviously is going to get into his own category over there. You can't really compare guys to him. But, again, if Drake May is Roethlisberger for the Patriots, on the field, hey, yo, if he is Roethlisberger on the field for the Patriots, that's perfect. Roethlisberger was he played in 3-1-2. Right? So, again, it just shows you how spoiled you are if you draft a quarterback and you're like, wait a second, he's only going to win 2 Super Bowls. It's like, settle down. Not everybody's going to win 7 Super Bowls. Jeez Louise. And I guess, he won 6 for the Patriots. So, not everybody's going to win 6 Super Bowls for you as a franchise. You got the one. You got the one guy. It is what it is. Be thankful for it. So that is, and, Roethlisberger as well, too, was the young quarterback with the defense and the infrastructure around him. And he did have the second Super Bowl win with Tomlin as the new coach. He had Cowher the first year. So maybe that would have been like if Drake May had played a year or two under Belichick. I guess, did Drake May play under Belichick? I guess he didn't win the Super Bowl under Belichick, obviously. Pause. But he played for... I guess who's the coach last year? Mayo? Gerard Mayo? So did he play for Belichick for a year? Is this year 3 for Drake May or year 2? We'll go back and check Drake May stats here. Stafford sacked on 3rd and 10, so the Seahawks defense is swarming, overwhelming. I think are the Rams, they are in long field goal range here. Is our guy Mevis going to be back out on the field? Mevis MVP game. Harrison Mevis, most valuable Mevis. Is that what it stands for? I'm not sure, but let's see here. Drake May, is this year 2 or year 3? We should know. I guess this would be year 2, if we're not mistaken. All those guys, May, Daniels, Caleb Williams, year 2, right? Caleb Williams only in year 2. It seems like there's like an extra year of like dialogue in the career for Caleb Williams, but maybe that's like just him being, such a lock first round, top 3, top 1 prospect type guy that, it feels like the NFL draft dialogue or the NFL dialogue is like 3 years for Caleb Williams. But yeah, Drake May year 2, I guess, did not play under Belichick So, maybe not quite the same Roethlisberger comparisons there. But again, that seemed like a much more real. And then maybe even some of the creative stuff as well, too. I think Drake May is kind of in between, in between Roethlisberger and Brady as a pocket passer. Hey, yo, being, we don't know how many people have been in between Roethlisberger and Brady, but, in terms of, I think the dynamic as a pocket passer, I think he would fall a little bit more in the middle there with kind of, maybe leaning obviously more toward Roethlisberger's creation skills, but maybe even a little higher. And do we say better Roethlisberger? Hey, yo, we're not saying that. Again, Roethlisberger, you got to give him his credit, and of course, like we said in the past, did have the numbers, have the stats in the back half of the career as well too, where he was definitely a little, winning quarterback, obviously still making Pro Bowls, maybe like 3,800 yards, and then had a couple like 4,800 yard, 5,000 yard seasons in there when they had the Brown Bell offense trio cooking. So you could definitely see that for Drake May. I mean, he had a great season this year from a numbers standpoint, 4,400 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 8 picks. But, you could see him year 8, year 9. He's like, oh, Drake May is all of a sudden like 4,900 yards, 40. I mean, Stafford right now, year 7. I mean, Stafford had great, I guess, yardage, great numbers before this as well, too. But in terms of the MVP value, obviously his best season now. And May leading in the advanced stats as well, too, which is not him obviously just checking down and playing it safe, even if the completion percentage is high. But, again, the opponents and stuff like that, it all does factor into it. In the stretch in the middle of the season here, Giants, Cincinnati, was Burrow playing in that game? I don't remember, but probably not. And Jets, Tampa, Atlanta, Cleveland, Tennessee, New Orleans, the win in Buffalo. Shout out. I guess we're reading it in reverse order, pause. So Carolina, Buffalo, New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, Atlanta, Tampa, the Jets, the Bengals, the Giants, and then the one loss at the end of basically the entire, season there. I guess, only 3 losses on the season. Ayo, Vegas, that weird week 1 game, Pittsburgh, and then Buffalo. So, 2 playoff teams in Vegas. So is that the sign for Vegas is a playoff? Vegas with Mendoza, can they beat the Patriots? I don't know. Max Crosby and Mendoza going into Boston? Hey, yo, chat. Hey, yo. They wouldn't even know what to, do at that point. It is what it is. But for the Patriots, obviously, the future is looking bright. We can't say incredible season. I guess we can, but, season's not over yet, so we can't really, we're not sending them home or anything like that. But, yeah, like we're saying, for the Broncos, this is I would put this in a game that, and again, because they were probably, I go back and look at the line here. Let me see. Were they the favorite? I doubt it. With Stidham going into the game. But with the way they played out, as a Broncos fan looking back, you can definitely say that this opened with the Patriots at 4.5. Hey, yo, going into Denver. So, yeah, at least the Broncos covered the game as well, too. At home, you got to give them credit there. You got to be able to cover a home playoff game as the 1 seed in the conference championship game. It is what it is. And, the Patriots outgained them in total yards, 206, 2 turnovers for Denver. Couple of easy stats, and you're just like, okay, maybe it is, the Patriots just a little bit better in the course of the game, should have won. But, yeah, with the missed field goals, and then with the what if, I guess, if, they just have a cleaner last drive, you could definitely, there definitely isn't a question about whether or not the season was like, okay, matchup stuff. Again, I guess at any point, because the game was close, you could have looked and gone, could Bo Nix have won the game? But it shouldn't have mattered. In this one, it shouldn't have mattered. Stidham should have been able to win this game. It is what it is. Drake May had 10 for 21, 86 yards. Like it's perfect. Again, Stevenson, 25 for 71, is somehow the MVP of the game on offense for the Patriots. And they had Spillane kind of get banged up as well, too. Like kind of the quarterback for the Patriots defense. So I don't know if that neutralizes, against for losing Bo Nix there. I don't think that's totally the case. But, yeah, tough loss. Tough way to end the season. At least, I guess winning the AFC, you can put up a banner, right? We know, when Manning campaigned for he's like, hey, Broncos fans, you put up a banner for winning the AFC. Impressive. But, The Rams are going to force a tough third down here. They were able to get to Stafford. The defensive line still in their classic rush four. Is that our guy Fisk? You've got Young kind of absorbing two tackles, two blockers, I guess. And then Fisk, obviously they were, they got Darnold. They're not shy from drafting an undersized defensive end. But you've got kind of like I guess, I don't know, is Byron Young an oversized linebacker? Oversized edge rusher? Not necessarily. But Fisk just like got lost on that pass rush. He's like slipped between the two blockers when they went to go block Young. The easy run on third down, not really going for much there. And they're just going to, I guess, punt it away. So 6-10 are field goals. One more field goal. They're only down by 1 point. It's going to be a lot of work for Mevis to get him the win in this one. That touchdown, is going to do a lot of carrying. It is what it is. It's why they are important. And Carlton Davis leading the team game in tackles for the Patriots. He had a really great playoff run, or is having a really great playoff run as well too. I just want the Patriots to be out of the playoffs. It is what it is. Just mentally sending them home. Oh, Rams muffin the fumble. He's able to get back on top at pause, but getting sketchy there. Did he have a pick against Herbert in the playoffs? I think, or he definitely had. He definitely had a pick against somebody. Had a pick against Stroud. I think everybody had interceptions against the Texans. It is what it is. But yeah, he was a leader on the defense as well too. Gonzalez was the one that ended up having the interception, and he, of course, has been one of the top corners of the league. And, like we're saying, shout out to the Broncos defense. There was a play where early in the game they tried to test Surtain up the sideline, and he was just an absolute lockstep with Keyshawn Boutte, and it was like, again, shout out. I'm sure, given enough opportunities, he's going to find his routes, and maybe given enough time in a given play, like any receiver, I'm sure could get open. But it's just like having a guy run step with the receiver on a route just while the play is developing, the actual play itself. Obviously Surtain is, still arguably the best in the league at that. And Stidham's rating today with the interception, 19.6 on the QBR, a 63-point rating. But it's a better quarterback rating than Drake May. Drake May had a 58.8 rating, the 63 for Stidham. Stidham's QBR, though, like we're saying, under 20. Drake May's QBR, 62.5. So some, advanced stats trending his direction there, but 5 sacks. The pressure definitely making him, have some quick throws from time to time and just kind of unsettled the entire game. Greenlaw and Hufanga were incredible. Hufanga had couple of big, a tackle for loss in this one, couple of passes defended. Greenlaw with 6 tackles. DJ Jones, a sack and a half, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits. Malcolm Roach getting in there for a sack. Jonathan Cooper as well too. So a lot of the moves they have made, obviously, for the defense, clearly paying off. But yeah, shout out to Hufanga. He's a guy that has been beloved in that Niners team, on that Niners defense, that I think me and Sam, we just, for some reason, naturally find ourselves rooting for players on that Niners defense. Obviously, Fred Warner being one of them. But Hufanga was another one. He's just like a guy that, is fun to watch. He's obviously a guy that plays with tremendous effort. And he was providing that great run support and, just that great energy in the secondary that you thought he could provide. And, again, the 49ers obviously can have a little bit of a let guys walk sort of situation with their team where they'll try to replenish through the draft and through some, cheaper free agent moves because, they obviously have to invest it highly in their top end talent. And they really obviously have tried to keep a lot of those guys around and still one of the more stacked teams in the league. But when you let, it was like, is Hufanga going to be one of those guys where they just are paying, the guys that have been in the All-Pros in the past, just locking them down for the contracts when they're up. But when they let Hufanga walk after the injury, it's like, is that a little bit, and Greenlaw as well too, obviously. I mean, the Greenlaw one, it's like, Greenlaw's the man. Like, Greenlaw's going to be back. He's going to be fine. Hufanga's the man as well too, but you just never know. I don't know, linebacker versus secondary. I don't know why there would be a difference there. But something just felt a little bit different. But I think maybe Hufanga Yeah, obviously everybody was great on the defense this year, but Hufanga could have arguably had the better season for the Broncos, and again, both of them were super impactful either way. So both definitely worth the investment for upping the veteran status of this team. And let me look up the contracts here as well too, just to see with what they're dealing with in terms of, obviously having the free agents and what potential spots they may have to replenish in the offseason. Because like we're saying, with them having the quarterback on the rookie contract, there should be in theory a window here. Is it a window for was it a window for this season, or is this a run that they can potentially have? Because you have a coach in theory that can be a system coach, that can be a an institution type of a guy. The offensive line is under contract as well too, so that's a little in that Kansas City lane. Some of the offensive line stuff has gone a little bit in the other direction over the last couple of years, but they have obviously continued to invest in that when they were at the peak of their powers. So you've got a lot of the important stuff taken care of already. Yeah, McGlinchey signed Menirez, the guard, signed. Ben Powers is signed at least for next year. Surtain under contract for a while. Zach Allen, DJ Jones, who we were just pointing out and highlighting his performance. He is on a 2-year contract here. Jonathan Cooper is just signed. So yeah, this is kind of the first first attempt of having at least a lot of these guys together as well too. Hufanga, 2 more years on his deal. Greenlaw, 2 more years on his deal. Brandon Jones there next year. Okay, so that is at least encouraging that the defense will hopefully be able to run back a lot of the pieces. And, Bo Nix, $5 million salary. Shout out. Love to see it. It is what it is. Next 2 years, hopefully that is meaning, they're still able to get impactful production out of some of the guys they signed. And I guess they do have Benito under contract. They did sign him to an extension that we're not remembering. So that is, at least that is taken care of as well too. And all these guys are on the books. Again, you would question, how expensive is the roster going to get? It doesn't matter. They've already committed to it. They've already said, the Walmart, it turns out the funds from the Walmart guys are okay. Turns out as long as we keep shopping at Walmart, the Broncos defense is going to be good. They're going to be willing to pay for, the top end talent. Benito getting between 28 and $32 million a year. You've got Sutton is going to be making $30 million a year. Zach Allen's got a 16, and then he goes 37 and 37 for his contract. Surtain is up near $30 million. So, the 2029 version of the Broncos is going to be pretty expensive, and they're going to start maybe losing some of the offensive line guys there as well too. So Bo Nix, whoever the quarterback is going to be running for his life in 2030. Oh, is that Corum? Our guy Corum up the sideline? Shout out. Is he the leading rusher? Oh, Corum! Look out, Kyron Williams. Is he getting benched or is he hurt? I'm not sure. But Corum, the leading rusher on the day. 6 less carries and more yards than Kenneth Walker. That's the maize and blue for you there, chat. Go blue. Hey, yo, this is why we have to root for the Rams. I mean, obviously not just the colorways, but they've got Corum. Corum versus JSN. Are we missing any Michigan guys on Seattle's roster? I'm not thinking of any at the moment that are, currently there. I know we could obviously double check, but, shout out Corum being a super important part of the Harbaugh teams there the last couple of years and what they were able to accomplish. So for him to win on every level, Blake Corum, he's just one of those guys. He's just going to be a winner at every level. So maybe him being on this Rams team is a sign. It is what it is. A team of destiny if they have Blake Corum. But yeah, like we said, if Bo Nix is back and healthy for week 1, if you're running this back, then maybe the unfinished business angle of the season, will we get an extra motivated Bo Nix? Can we get like an MVP Bo Nix? Is that off the table? Here, let's go back and double check what his season numbers were this year. I guess, anybody can have a all-pro, we'll say all-pro level season. I guess you can make an all-pro and not win MVP, is how they've been doing it over the last couple years. But maybe second team All-Pro as well too. So he was almost 4,000 yards this year, led the league in pass attempts, 63% completion percentage. 3,900 yards, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So one less pick, but his interception percentage was down slightly. I guess it's kind of all, 2.1 to 1.8, it's kind of all the same. His yards per attempt were yards per completions was all kind of similar last year. So is this was Bo Nix better this year? Because again, some of the fourth quarter, the fourth quarter clutchness in powering this team, was that a fluke, or is that something to build on? Is this going to be, if he's able to string together actual consistent production throughout the course of a game, like, is he going to be one of the elite guys, or is he going to, fall back to earth if some of the fourth quarter stuff levels back out? And awesome second quarters as well too. 12 touchdowns, 3 picks in the second quarters on the season, if we're looking at his production that way. So second and fourth quarters both, he was similar in the second, basically, the same spot, second quarter, fourth quarter, as he was in first quarter, third quarter. So I don't know what that has to do with play calling. His completion percentage was definitely higher in the third quarter, but his overall production was kind of the same again, first, third, and second and fourth. So is there something that the offense was doing with Bo Nix at the end of the halves, that, these end of half situations, that would allow him to be more productive and maybe, prevent defense as well too? I'm sure all the matchup stuff factors into it as well. But yeah, it's going to be a interesting take a step forward type team next year, because a team like the Bears, for example, again, speaking of, I guess, is this all the same draft class? Bo Nix, year 2, the 2024 draft class. Who would have guessed this would have been the best draft class in NFL history for playoff success for quarterbacks? But Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Bo Nix have all now been in conference championship games, essentially. And, again, Drake May now, winning a Super, getting to the Super Bowl, doing all that stuff. Pause. But still, that level of playoff success in 2 years for a quarterback class is pretty crazy. And is there a guy that we're missing, or is it those 4? Or was there a 5th guy in this class that we're not thinking about? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and then, Penix! Oh, Chad, Penix. There was a guy that we're not. Oh, and McCarthy! Our guy McCarthy as well, too. So maybe this is why this class was so good. There were so many guys. Hey, that's crazy. I mean, Chad, 6 of the top 12 in 2024 were quarterbacks. That is got to be a record, and I imagine that will be that way for a couple years. I know that 2027, I think people are hyping up the quarterback class there, but for us to find 6, plus that was a little bit of the Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix with the eligibilities of like COVID and stuff like that kind of lining in there as well too. So, McCarthy, Caleb Williams, and Drake May, I think we're all on a normal timeline in terms of, a quote-unquote normal timeline in terms of them playing the normal amount of eligible years. So maybe in just a normal, set of circumstances, maybe those are the only 3 choices, and then maybe Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, maybe Bo Nix 1 year, Jaden Daniels the next. Who knows how it all works out. But yeah, to get 6 in the top 12 is pretty insane. And, again, the Denver kind of was forced to take Bo Nix as well too, but it didn't seem like Bo Nix was even in conversation, for example, to go at 10, where McCarthy was going to go. And I know now, would Minnesota trade McCarthy for Bo Nix? I think you would have to. And Atlanta, I think, would definitely trade Penix for Bo Nix as well. I think both those teams would be making moves. I guess, would Washington trade Jaden Daniels for Bo Nix? I don't think they quite would. I think the season that he had last year is still powerful enough to resonate with the Washington fans there, for him as a lead franchise guy, and for them to, relive the RG3 days as well too. They were definitely some glory days in the recent memory for that franchise. But, again, this was like it didn't seem like there was going to be a choice between McCarthy and Bo Nix, or Penix and Bo Nix, where it's like, hey, what is Atlanta going to do? What is Minnesota going to do? It's like, Bo Nix is going to be there at 12 because if he doesn't go at 12, he's going to go at 44 or he's going to fall in the draft or something. It's like, Denver, do you want to take Bo Nix in the first round or do you want to take him in the second round? Was essentially the question. And I guess, did they not have a second round pick because of the trade? Was that the wrinkle or did they trade out of the second round pick? Because that is a fun wrinkle. If they were in the second round, would they have just waited to get him? Because Buffalo, the Chargers, Atlanta would have taken Penix. Washington, I guess, would take New England. Like, all these guys would have taken their guy. Maybe Tennessee. Do the Rams take Bo Nix as a backup option? Philly as well, too, could have done that. I guess maybe New Orleans could have stepped in there and taken him at 41 instead of Kool-Aid McKinstry. You got 4 defensive backs going in a row here in the second round. And then the next quarterback off the board after Bo Nix, was there even a guy? Who was the next quarterback off the board here? We probably scrolled past him. But the next one we can find is Rattler. Spencer Rattler. Oh, and Kyron Williams steals Blake Corum's touchdown. Maybe Blake Corum would have stolen Kyron Williams. But, for our Michigan man, Kyron Williams could have, he had enough regular season touchdowns. He could have given Blake Corum some of the playoff ones. But a nice little play, oh, is that a screen? Oh, it was a screen. We're over here looking at the stats. We're not paying attention. Oh, chat, the play design. Hey, Kyron Williams way open. So that could have been Blake Corum as well, too. I was ready to watch the replay and say, Kyron Williams, impressive run. Blake Corum, only Kyron Williams could have gotten in the end zone from that 10-yard run there. Beast mode, dragged 3 tacklers, juked everybody, had to actually run like 700 total yards. He's like, no, it's just wide open on a screen pass. Could have literally been anybody. Could have been Blake Corum. Could have drafted a Michigan guy 7 minutes ago, flew him into the stadium and just suited him up for that one play. And he would have been wide open on that play and scored a touchdown. It could have, A.J. Brown's on a treadmill commercial right now. They could have traded for A.J. Brown. Hey, do they trade for A.J. Brown in the offseason? We'll have to see. Do the Broncos trade for A.J. Brown in the offseason? And that would be an interesting one. But, again, with the way the game played out, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Broncos don't, they shouldn't trade for A.J. Brown because that's crazy. We love A.J. Brown. We draft A.J. Brown every year in fantasy. So if a team wants to trade for him or, acquire him, again, we've literally tried to do that every year in fantasy. So we're not going to sit here and advise against it. But the idea of what this offense, I think, would need in terms of a different dynamic. Like, are you trading Cortland Sutton for A.J. Brown? Is Howie Roseman looking at Cortland Sutton and is there contract stuff there? I guess there's not because Cortland Sutton's going to be, 28, 29, 30. So maybe for the Broncos, it would be a contract reset. I don't know, unless it's a sign and trade scenario where they're going to re-sign A.J. Brown to a different deal. But, again, I think the need for some extra yards, and I guess A.J. Brown, of course, can create yards. I guess you can, you run a screen for A.J. Brown. I'm sure you can run a screen for A.J. Brown. Hey, and maybe that's what he needs as well, too. Maybe he doesn't want, throwing the football down the field. Doesn't seem like he likes that in the Philly offense for some reason. Or, maybe he's just got, of course, his timeline for being in these offenses. But it would be like a fun creator like that or a running back as well, too. Obviously, with the way the run games have powered, even this Rams offense, Kyron Williams, you could say like Kyron, Puka Nacua, and, Matt Stafford's like a big 3 in a sense, even though it's a little bit, is it a dynamic duo or is it a big 3? I'm not sure. Is it a fantastic 4 with Devontae Adams? I guess it just depends on the day, depends on the matchup. But all of these teams now have had offenses that are powered on the back of the run games. So maybe you just need to focus on bolstering that as well too. And again, I don't want to say bolstering that, like maybe just getting a run game. Hey, I mean, RJ Harvey is a great weapon. So maybe it's more using him as a weapon and then having a guy that you can actually have, be like a first and second down back. Do we need to go to the tankathon here? Are they a Jeremiah Love team? Like if the Broncos got Jeremiah Love, would we be in the Super Bowl? Like that's like thinking like, would Bijan make this team a Super, like would they have won the Super Bowl this year if we had, if the Broncos had Bijan on the roster and had a much more powerful threat in that type of way, Saquon from last year. Is Saquon last year's, how many different teams could Saquon from last year have taken to the Super Bowl? Is an interesting question. You know, I guess it's like an MVP type of question, obviously. But could that type of running production on offense been enough to power a passing game enough like this? I don't know. Love right now is going 8 to the Saints. Yeah, he's going pretty high, so they might not be able to get to him. CJ Allen, the linebacker from Georgia, is going to be the pick right now on Tankathon. But right now, the 29th pick, so they have the 30th pick in the draft. The 29th pick is the Rams. KC Concepcion would be an interesting weapon for this team. Maybe you'd want to take more a receiver type in the second round. Omar Cooper Jr.? Omarion Cooper? I don't know. Does Tankathon have it wrong, or did Gus Johnson get the call wrong? I'm not sure. I thought the call was Omar Cooper Jr., or did he say Omarion Cooper? We have to go back and double check. I'm not sure. It's a great catch by Omar Cooper Jr. So I think maybe 2 receivers. I don't know, 2 receivers, but Cooper as well. He feels a little bit more like a possession receiver. Jacoby Lane. I guess these are all great weapons. Chambliss, 65 to the Cardinals. Hey, yo, steal the draft. Would be a crazy move. Darnold incomplete on 39. 8 for 10 for 130 yards in the first half. So, again, you kind of say that sort of that matchup jinx that he has against the Rams is now kind of worn off at this point. You know, he was kind of on, a 3-game run there, a 2.5-game run. So he's at like a game and a half now of cooking him almost. So, again, you definitely say that he is playing better. But, you know, the Rams have the lead, and they have found themselves in several kind of third and, you know, disadvantaged situations. You know, they've converted enough times. But the passes behind the running back this time, right off the shoulder, not quite able to get that to go. So, you know, again, just incompletions and inconvenient plays at the wrong time for this Seattle team. Is Charbonnet injured? So they're down to a different option as the second running back. You know, Ayo Charbonnet, our former Michigan guy who ended up transferring to UCLA. And I think, unfortunately, he ended up becoming a UCLA guy. It is what it is. He was definitely really, really good at Michigan, and a really, really high-level recruit as well, too. I don't know if we went back and look up the 24/7, it'd be like, whoa, Zach Charbonnet is like the 7th highest recruit that Michigan's ever gotten. I don't remember to what, you know, again, what level he had the ratings there. Shout out to Hakeem on the sports reference page, suggesting his player page. We should have just gone and looked it up. It is what it is. But Zach Charbonnet, 19 to 22. Was it 1 or 2 seasons at Michigan? 2 seasons at Michigan. Yeah, 700 yards and 11 touchdowns that first year. 5 yards a carry. And then, you know, 5 games played, 19 carries, 124 yards and a touchdown as a sophomore. And then UCLA back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. 1,113 and 1,359 and 14 touchdowns, 7 yards a carry that year as a senior. And, you know, again, obviously Michigan's run game in 2022 was doing pretty good. Shout out to, again, Blake Corum himself as well. But once Michigan guy, we cannot forget, 2nd round pick in the NFL draft. Yeah, it doesn't have his recruiting ranking listed on here. I know it does for the basketball guys. It is what it is. But maybe a 4-star. Maybe he was a 5-star and then became a 4-star. I'm not sure. But obviously, super productive running back for the Seahawks as well too. So probably would have missed him on that play. But Corum still 7 carries for 40 yards, still more than Kenneth Walker. So Puka 4 for 75 is probably still the MVP of the game for the Rams. We're gonna get Corum into the Super Bowl and give him. Is there like a Larry Bird NFC Eastern Conference MVP award? Who would be the Larry Bird of the NFC? Roger Staubach? I think Roger Staubach would have been right before. Oh, Joe Montana, like 80s superstar, 80s NFC superstar. That would have been. That is Joe Montana, the Larry Bird of the NFC. And then who would have been, you know, the Magic Johnson of the AFC? Hey, yo, who? We might have to pause that. I'm not sure, but you know, because I don't know if Montana had like a rival in that sense. You know, I guess was Ken Anderson, is Boomer Esiason, the Bengals themselves? I don't know. Was Chris Collinsworth the the Magic Johnson of the AFC. He was trying to be, chat. Hey, yo. He was definitely telling the ladies at the club, yeah, they compare my game. They say I'm the Magic Johnson of wide receivers. It is what it is. Or maybe he was saying something else about, I don't know. But, I can't think of there wasn't like Dan Fouts. I don't know, there wasn't as dominant a guy in the 80s. Was there somebody for the Raiders, Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson? Who was the most dominant AFC player for the 80s? It's a loaded question for sure. But maybe it should be a little easier to recall. I'm trying to even think who the 49ers were. Yeah, they played the Bengals a couple times. Oh, Elway? Like, would Elway be mad? Elway made a bunch of Super Bowls. He didn't win until, of course, the end of the 90s. The Bears defense winning in 85. Oh, Moreno? Elway Moreno versus Montana. Again, Moreno obviously unfortunately, not to call out Moreno, but unfortunately not the same sort of ring playoff success as Magic Johnson. So maybe, not a fair comparison to Magic Johnson there. Again, Joe Montana is shout out. He's both Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Hey, yo. It is what it is. But, shout out. I don't remember what trail we're going on there, talking about Larry Bird. It is what it is. But we got third down here for Stafford. Corum with a good run on first down. Had him at a 2nd and 5, but it's incomplete here. Is that Eman Wari stepping up with the batted pass? And it seems like every guy like this now, and maybe it's Mike McDonald as well too, because Mike McDonald, I was going to say every guy that is like this is just good in the NFL. I mean, not every guy, the good ones that stand out make us think, oh, we should just draft every guy that's like this. But Kyle Hamilton for the Ravens, and this, Eman Wari, when he was as a prospect in the draft, there was some similarities there in his style of play, and wasn't quite as, being as highly, touted in the draft, and wasn't going to get picked quite as high, but brings a lot of the same similar skill sets. But like I'm saying, McDonald is the guy that coached and I think drafted as well too. Was on the team that drafted. Like, was he the coach at the time when they drafted Hamilton, and then of course continued to coach him afterwards as well there for a season or two. And then now, of course, he is coaching Eman Wari, and I think it is just kind of something that he hinges his defense around, is those types of playmakers. But those types of safety, hybrid, linebacker-ish type players who can, and, any safety who is physical enough to stop the run, but also fast enough to cover, it's just like, if you see those two things, it's like, why not just, that's what I'm saying. Like, if there's a safety prospect and we see that he's fast enough to cover the pass and he's physical enough to stop the run, we're probably going to just start putting that guy on our draft boards now. It is what it is. I don't know if we just take a quick scan of the Tankathon and see who could that be, like an NFL Combine scouting profile. Oh, Stafford with the pass on 3rd and 10 that Eman Wari once again is right there to defend, right there to get a hand in on and break up. He's running step for step with the receivers, but then again, you see the ability to finish a play, but he can also, get in and stop the quarterback pause if he needs to. Gets up with the running back. Does the running back not able to create space on the option route? Goes for the sideline. And Stafford still makes a good throw. Still gives the running back an opportunity to make the catch. But, he is unfortunately just all over coverage there that time. It is what it is. Shaheed with the fair catch. They short punt it, so the coverage team is able to get there. So 54 seconds. They're going to have decent field position here. I guess they'll be at the 25. Sort of normal touchback range. But yeah, again, it's just, it seems so obvious when you phrase it like that. And obviously when they're good, you can describe those things, and those things are going to, again, be standout things because we know that the production is there for guys like Eman Wari and Hamilton. But it seems like an obvious cheat code as well too. I'm like, hey, what am I sitting here saying that we know everything about draft boards? But hey, it turns out that, I think everybody liked Kyle Hamilton when he was in the draft. And Eman Wari was definitely a fun second round. Like, again, he was the 35th pick, and he was the 3rd pick of the 2nd round. So, immediately day 2, one of the first guys off the board. I think Seattle even traded up for him. So there was the league recognized his value. Again, the first round is, he's a top 35 pick. literally. So, it's not like the league was, again, sleeping on him too much. It is just a little bit more of, is he guaranteed to be on the field every time? Whereas, like, maybe a 4-down pass rusher or a lockdown corner or something, maybe just get a little tad bit more of that certainty in the draft. But like I'm saying, it does seem like this is, and I guess he didn't make the Pro Bowl this year. Did he make like some PFF Pro Bowl thing that we saw a post of? Did we just hope that he made the Pro Bowl? I'm not sure. Maybe he definitely should have, or definitely has the talent, definitely has the ability in the all-round game to be able to get there as well too. 2.5 sacks, an interception, 80 combined tackles. Is that necessarily across the board, raw stats, Pro Bowl level numbers? Maybe not 100%, but again, with his versatility and his production, obviously his impact. Maybe speaking of PFF, maybe they have him like graded super high. We don't have to validate our takes, I guess. If we like Eman Wari, he's literally having a great game, so this is the perfect game to continue to say that that's true. The Chiefs bolster their offense with Jeremiah Love. Jets pivot to David Bailey at number 2, 2026 mock. Who is David Bailey, chat? Hey, yo, who is David Bailey? Is this a new quarterback prospect? We got to scroll up here real quick and see. Oh, Edge from Texas Tech. Shout out. I don't know why why were we thinking quarterback for the Chiefs? Mahomes missing 6 games. And because it was the Jets. At number 2, David Bailey at number 2 over Ruben Bader. That's why we were not considering a defensive player. We just assume they're not going to take anybody over Ruben Bain. If it's a pass rusher and he can get 15 sacks in a season, you have to take him. That's another rule, it seems like, in the NFL draft that we're actually totally for following as well too. If he's a pass rusher and he's named after a Batman villain, then you have to take him. If there's like an Arthur Fleck, if there's a pass rusher who's like, Ruben Arthur Fleck Bain, I mean, that guy would just be insane, I guess. It is what it is. Yeah, the run game for Seattle, crazy. Eman Wari, safety. Okay, they don't have him in the top 3, so no spoiler there. 19th? Okay, that's pretty good. That's above average, top notch in the league. 4th team all safety for 2026, if we were looking at it that way. So again, for a second year 2 guy, a rookie. For a rookie to be a top 20 guy at his spot in the league, clearly a win, clearly impacted this game a ton. So, yeah, he is, again, in the model of a type of player that I don't even know if Lou Anarumo's defense would, if the Colts defense would be built to have a player like that, or if they would want to try to even search that type of player out in the draft or free agency or whatever. But, again, or, again, just to be honest about, like, hey, is this guy a first-round talent? Is this guy going to be one of those guys that we look back and go, like, hey, he's probably going to be one of the better players in the draft? And like Caleb Downs this year, everybody is obviously recognizing his talent. But 7th might honestly be too low. We might be like Tennessee. I get the Carnell Tate having the receiver for Cam Ward would be fantastic. Darnold deep pass to JSN, who takes a massive, massive shot from, was that Cam Curl and Kitchens? Both of them were in on the play. But he's able to continue to haul the pass. Curl with the attempt to at least try to, knock it free by, laying a hit on him. Pause. It is what it is. And the turnaround, I mean, he's trying. You got a safety covering a receiver there. He's got good recovery speed to at least, contact JSN right after the pass. But that's just a great catch, securing it with the body. Michael Irvin with the receiver 101, you catch it with the body, not the hands. If, you get tight paws, bounce right off the hands. Don't tell. Richard Sherman, of course, Seattle legend. Is he calling JSN with the wrong advice? I don't know. But now we're deep in the weeds on old undisputed clips. Shout out, has Michael Irvin clips been in our algorithm since the national championship run? It is what it is. We'll just keep watching them as long as the algorithm keeps feeding them our way, which is, I think, how it works. But 1st and 10, 37 seconds. They could, of course, go a touchdown here, potentially to end the half. Double move. The running back who, is this the one who dropped the pass last time? Holani able to get the 1st and goal. So, yeah, 30 seconds, 2 timeouts. Darnold, 10 for 15. Can Darnold win the MVP of the league on this game? The think they've already voted, but NFL Honors is what, this upcoming week? So they could just, could they frozen envelope it? I guess did they already announce the finalists as well too? Can they go back and edit the Instagram post? They're like, no, actually Darnold, they just taped Darnold's face over Stafford on the Instagram. They're like, yeah, Darnold was actually the nominee all along. That's how it works. But he has been, he hasn't been the worst quarterback. That's for sure. And, again, is he going to, that is sort of the legacy of Stafford. And if he's not outright playing, disastrous, is he going to, is he playing worse than whatever? But, has Darnold really even missed a throw at this point, where Stafford has had a little off the mark every now and then? They're up 3, so it's not like, they're in a bad spot going into the half here. It is a little bit of Seattle, just the possession math of them getting the football at this time. False start, another red zone penalty. So they've had a clean game so far, but once they've gotten into the red zone, that has been a couple times now that has started to drive. I mean, that's why they kicked the field goal on the last drive, because was that a holding call that got them in because they were back 10 yards after that. Was a false start's only 5. So I remember that being a little bit more of a drive killer than just a false start would have been. This does put him back to the 19, though. But, again, Darnold is cooking right now. So I don't know if they'd be as afraid to let Darnold make a play here, where they were going screens, simple passes, fires into the end zone. JSN out the back of the end zone, makes the catch. But, unfortunately, way out the back of the end zone. It is what it is. Open once again. Is that, who's on the cover? Is that time Lake on the coverage? Is Lake a corner, or is Lake also a safety? How do they keep getting safety? I mean, they have versatile defensive backs just in general for the Rams, but Curl's definitely a safety. Oh, Kitchens is the other safety? We have to go double check for the Rams. I don't know how the safety... we need just the actual corners on JSN, the actual defenders. Should be the one guarding him. I don't know if the safety is not saying that they can't handle it, but, it is what it is. Another fade to JSN, and once again, just wide open. I don't know where the communication issues are with the best receiver. You got to give the credit for Seattle in their play design. And like we're saying, having Shaheed, having the run game, Barner's a capable. You can't just forget about him. That you have to do your job in covering him. Cooper Kupp is there as well too. So, again, all guys, that if you leave them open, they're going to hit a shot, or Darnold's going to find them. But I don't know how you have the miscommunication on JSN, which seems like on multiple types of plays. And I guess that one where he just beat Cam Curl, down the field, pause. It is what it is. Good route, got him turned around. But even still, like we're saying, I don't know how you get your safety on a best receiver like that. It is what it is. So you're down 4 points, 20 seconds left in the half. I guess you could maybe try to make a move here, but I imagine you'll probably just take the close game, take the drama, and go in with the 4-point deficit. So like we said, early on, it looked like we were going to get that offensive showdown, and it has been that. It has been that. So we've got a defensive snow game classic, an ugly game, a beautiful, ugly game in the AFC Championship game that was iconic in a way. Again, even if it wasn't the most well-played game, even if there was a lot left on the table, even if the stats weren't great, it's not going to be one to go back and rewatch all the time. But this is going to be the classic up and down the field. These NFC West playoff games as well, too, they do seem like, the physicality, of course, of the legacy of the physicality between teams and, like, Seattle as well, too. But I do feel like they need to be a little bit offensive, a little bit fire-powered. Again, going like Seattle versus San Francisco back in the day. A lot of those matchups, and then even San Francisco versus LA as well too in a couple of those Garoppolo years, and now it's a little bit of LA versus Seattle, I guess. So does this mean Arizona with Chambliss is up next? Arizona versus Seattle? Ooh. I'm kind of liking that. I don't remember. We have to go back and double check who Seattle got, or who Arizona got as their head coach. Somebody at work told us it was Saleh. And I was like, hey, Saleh, it needs to go actually coach like a decent franchise, a decent ownership at some point. You go from the Jets to the Cardinals, that's crazy. But I don't know if the Titans are, a lot better than that. But I would say that they are better than the Jets and the Cardinals. It is what it is. So Arizona Cardinals head coaches, head coaching candidates. So they don't have a head coach yet at this point. Clear clear candidate emerges. I guess we could do a little bit more research into the Arizona Cardinals coaching head search. But we'll see whoever Trinidad Chambliss is paired up with there, if they can turn the team around. 8 seconds left. Do they have time to set up our guy? 8 seconds left. I don't think they do have a time to set up our guy Mevis for a play. This might have to be the play. Where are they at? The 40. Stafford can throw this. You know, if you throw one more 4-second play, you're still not going to be in field goal range, but you'll be a lot closer for a Hail Mary pass. And 112, 111 on the decibel meter, I'm convinced Seattle just lies on that sometimes. They have to lie. We've been in stadiums where we've been, like the fans have been cheering as loud. And Seattle is, obviously an NFL stadium's as big as you're going to get. I'm sure Seattle's right up there with capacity. But I remember there was this last Michigan game we were at. There was a possession where it was like everybody's like, this is like as loud as, I've ever heard a stadium. And it was like 102, 103 on the decibel rating. And I was like, Seattle just gets to 112 just like in the second quarter of these games. It can't be this easy. They have to be lying. Because Kansas City as well, too. Kansas City, I feel like, pumps the numbers on their decibels as well. So there may be some, we're looking into point shaving and all this different stuff now and what could be scandalous in the modern times. I think decibel, not shaving, but we need to look into, I don't know if we call it decibel pumping either as well, too. Something about decibel pumping sounds kind of crazy. But, decibel botting, is that what it is? Are they botting the decibel counts? Stafford on the run to end the half. Oh, he's going to slide and fumble. Oh, E-Man Warrior's got the football. Did they call him down? They called him down. It is what I think. Yeah, Stafford gave himself up. So once he gave himself up, I guess even if he gave himself up and then threw the football, does he need to be touched down by contact? The quarterback rules. We double check those. Hey, the quarterbacks, if they just be like, okay, I want the play to be over. And they're like, you're done with the play? Okay, we'll be done with the play. It is what it is. But Seattle scoring on 3 of the 5 drives. The Rams 12 plays, 87-yard drive. 12 play, 87-yard drive in the second quarter. Yes, Seattle has, of course, like we're saying, Darnold been cooking a little bit more consistent, moving the ball up and down the field. But it's not like, again, the Rams have been right. 13 points in the half. Stafford's got 125 yards. Corum himself. If Corum went 14 carries for 80 yards, you'd be like, oh, it's a great game from Blake Corum. Yeah, if the Rams had 408 yards in this game, that would be a great game. But Seattle is on pace for over how many? 500 yards at this point? On pace for over 500 yards. And, of course, even one first down, but just a little bit more, one more drive at this point as well, too. And being successful. Oh, no Tutu Atwell for the Rams. Okay. So that explains it, the 4-point difference. And 3 for 6 on third down for Seattle, 1 for 5 for the Rams. So they've been able to at least keep out of third down a lot as well, too. But, yeah, for the most part, Seattle at home, got to be feeling comfortable with the way the first half played out there. But we will take a quick break. Of course, the second half up underway. And, I don't know, we got more NBA. We got, we're just hanging out on a Sunday, seeing who is going to be ready to face Drake May and Mike Vrabel in the Super Bowl. Drake May in the Super Bowl, we still got to process what happened in that game earlier. Process the first half. And we'll be back right after this. All right, we are back, and I don't even know why the JSN stats weren't really registering in the first half, but he is at 115 yards. Hey, yo, I mean, obviously we know he's cooking the game, and it just shows you that he has been so dominant all year that it's just like, oh, JSN, 115 is, it's not like we haven't seen JSN at 157 receptions for 115 and a touchdown before. It's like, oh, wait a second. We've only played 2 quarters of football, not 4. I mean, Puka for 75, 4 for 75, of course, is, having an outstanding average himself as well, too. Both of them with equally, as dynamic top-end plays here as we are looking at it. And maybe that does go to show you that Darnold has, again, slightly been a little bit better than than Stafford. Though, again, if we're really, really getting, down to the couple of details, maybe even the Seattle defensive backs, like we say, making a couple of plays there with the pass breakups as well, too. But regardless, both, a couple of Stafford missed throws, a couple of pass defenses. Now you get the compounding things happening as well, too, regardless if it's one or the other or both. But for JSN, we might have to start looking at actually what is on the table for him from a historical standpoint at this point. I mean, 100 yards receiving in the half in a conference championship game feels like it probably is, in historical territory at this point as well, too. I mean, 100 yards in the receiving in a half in a playoff game, just in general, might be, historic enough itself. But for the actual round as well, too, the high-level football, the teams that have made it, the reliance on a receiver, and then all of it kind of, obviously adding up to this type of performance. Let's see what we can get here for, again, what he might have already accomplished, but what he can potentially accomplish as well, too. Game finder, quarter finder. What happened to our quarter finder? Hey, yo, season finder, streak finder versus finder, touchdown finder, span finder. We're so close. Do they have quarter finder for NFL? Okay, we might just have to go. We might have to go game finder then and see instead of split finder. Compare player situational splits for single season or cumulative seasons. Hey, yo, we should know where to go, chat. Player span finder. I guess we'll just see what's in the player split finder. We'll see what's in here real quick. First quarter. Oh, here we go. Can we see this? First half OT. Yeah, here we go. First half. Okay, playoffs. We need stats to display. Receiving stats. Again, we want it to be a playoff game. Player filter, statistical filter. Receiving yards. He's at 115, but like we said, I think 100, obviously, a good cutoff to see who else is in comparison there. Shows totals for the entire season. Hey, yo, this is too many questions. Sort by passing touchdowns. So first half, 100 yards. I guess screw it. We'll filter out which ones are the playoff games afterwards, if it's going to show the playoff games here. Shout out to Keith Byers, who did he have 521 scrimmage yards in a half? I don't know, 16 quarters, 16 halves. Oh, see, we're not doing this right. Splits by quarter. This is all the first halves over the course of the year. So, yeah, I guess we'll just see I guess we could probably find conference championship games and see maybe like 200 yards in a conference championship game. Most games, season with most games, there's not a quarter finder in there, is there? Hey, yo. We really need our quarter finder. Get a quarter finder for the NFL. There's one for the NBA. Clutch to see what's happened in even the specific, moments of the game like that as well, too. But for conference championship game in total, we'll just, I guess, go 150. Because I can't imagine there's been, like, a ton of 150-yard receiving in conference championship games. Has there been more than 25? 20? We'll see here. 12. Pierre Garçon in the mix. Shout out. You love to see a Spurs legend there. Arizona, of course, Fitzgerald 09 versus Philly with 152, 3 touchdowns, and a bunch of catches. Tear it up from fantasy perspective. Michael Irvin, 192. Dallas in a loss versus San Francisco. Oh, so the 4 highest receiving yardage totals in a conference championship game have all lost. We've gotten Michael Irvin at 192, losing to San Francisco in 95. Biletnikoff in 68, lost to the Jets on 7 for 190. Cliff Branch for Oakland in 74, lost to Pittsburgh, 9 receptions, 186. And Julio Jones lost to San Francisco in 2013, 11 receptions for 182. And then literally everybody else has won, except for those top 4 performances. So if JSN gets 181 yards and wins this game, that will be the most yards ever in a conference championship win. Shout out. And then if he gets to the 200-yard mark, he would be the first guy ever to get 200 yards in a conference championship, which seems very realistic at this point. Again, JSN not getting 75 yards and a half seems pretty easy. So, I don't know if we lock it in. Chris Hogan was the Patriots receiver, like I said, 180 on 9 catches and 2 touchdowns against Pittsburgh in 2017. Julio Jones again in 2017, 9 catches for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill against Buffalo, 9 for 172, 0 touchdowns in that game. Haven Moses, Denver, 1978, 5 receptions, 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, a real spark plug in that game. Ike Hillard in 2001 for the Giants over Minnesota, 41-0, 10 catches, 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. Fitzgerald again. Oh, no, we're just reading it again. I was saying, Fitzgerald again, but unfortunately just one time for Fitzgerald. But I guess not fortunately because, at least one time he had an awesome game. Against Philly in the conference championship game, he was 9 receptions, 152 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then Pierre Garçon, 11 for 151 and 1 touchdown. And Plexico Burress against Green Bay, 11 for 151 and a touchdown. So the 12 150-yard conference championship game performances are not. So Puka is halfway there as well, too. Like we're saying, 4 for 175. It would seem pretty realistic that he could also have a big statistical second half and keep that up as well. But again, for JSN to maybe get the record, can we live bet that and make sure, that would make sure it doesn't happen? Hey, then you guys can fade our picks. But him to get 75 more yards in this half. And how many does he need for the fantasy points record? I don't know if this is the fantasy points record. If somebody's had some more catches, touchdown, combo to get the fantasy points up in the mix there. But Fitzgerald with 33 is the highest here. So it feels like he could definitely get more than 33 in the course of this game. But they're going to start on the ground. And, of course, the fact they get the football to start the half up 4 is meaning, they're probably going to want to control the quarter. I mean, we just saw the Patriots do it, of course, in the third and be able to, speed up the game at this point. Fast track to the 4th, and then if you can get that 2-score advantage by potentially getting a touchdown here, you're all of a sudden seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and really minimizing the amount of drives left in the game. But 2nd and 5, did we hear a whistle? I thought somebody's calling a timeout or something early on. That would have been kind of weird. But nope, we get Walker going in motion. Darnold sits back. He's got time to throw. So they have had moments where the pass rush has been effective, but of course the Seattle offensive line is getting their wins as well too. And whatever this zone defense is, it's not working because JSN just sheds a defender, sits down in the zone. Darnold hits him. We've got Lake the safety again, or corner, Lake the defensive back, running up to make the tackle, keep the play in front of him, but it's still a first down and it's still like an easy, I don't know what he got there, an easy 16 yards on that play. So he's at 8 for 127 now. Again, he's already moving into historic territory just based on an early 2.5, 2 and barely a quarter run here at this point. Darnold, though, is flushed out this time. So, to be honest, it may be those types of scenarios that give the Rams defensive line an opportunity to create plays and get to the quarterback. Because Darnold just did a straight drop. Seems like it hasn't been, it's been working pretty good. But they get the pressure that time. Darnold's running as well, too. It's not like he is top of that list. So if the Rams guys are able to make athletic plays on the edges, escaping with Darnold trying to escape the pocket, they may find success there. And they get contained on the run on 2nd down. Another penalty. So that might be the only place that the Rams are definitely winning the game at this point is the penalties. Let's see what we've got here for the stats. I guess we should probably look up stats, team stats, and see where they are. First down, passing, rushing, turnover, penalties, 0. Hey, we just jinxed it. Sorry to Rams fans. Go bet on FanDuel at this point. What the next? Can we bet penalty on this play? Offsides, what's it going to be? Face mask? Probably a face mask on the Rams on this play. It's going to be a bad penalty now that we've jinxed it. So 3 for 25, still not crazy, but, again, a definite advantage at this point. And they have all been offensive as well, too. So they've all gotten you moving backwards. So, penalty, not good either way. And a face mask on 3rd and 12. How devastating would this be for Rams fans getting off the field? Oh, roughing the passer? Do they get a roughing the passer for tripping Darnold? No, they get away with that possession with no penalty. So the penalty is going to be on this punt. It'll be a running into the kicker situation, a roughing the kicker, maybe a holding on the Gunners. Who knows? But this time, I guess Darnold in the straight drop doesn't work out. Hey, yo, overwhelmed. Fisk, he's back. He's the bad guy villain for this game. And did they send Young from the secondary? Did they bring him in a little bit farther that time? Hey, yo. We got 4th and 19. Forcing the punt here. And, of course, the advantage of the special teams where you have Shaheed for the Seahawks. And this is the second time that the Rams guy has muffed the punt. He was falling backwards in a lazy attempt to recover that one. And unfortunately, just straight up dropped it. And the Rams are going to get the ball inside the red zone. So there's, I guess, not the penalty, but there's the turnover. So what's worse, a penalty or a turnover? Obviously a turnover. And Smith, we hate to call him out. He just tripped. He tripped trying to field the punt. He honestly should have tried to, after he started tripping, he should have tried to somehow avoid catching it. That might have been worse because, again, you're definitely not catching it at that point if you avoid it. But both returns so far he has tried. So shout out for McVay for at least, attempting to run him back out there, I guess, the second time. With Belichick, have back at the peak of Belichick's powers, if a guy muffs a punt in a playoff game, even if he recovers it, would he have sent him back out there? It would have had to have been a guy like Shaheed, a guy with the proven track record like that. But is that, we just randomly mentioned the Tutu Atwell injury earlier because we were scrolling around. Is Tutu Atwell typically their punt returner? Is that a guy that actually would have mattered in that moment there? Oh, Darnold to is that Barner? Is that Bobo? Jake Bobo? The receiver? Darnold floats that in, chat. Perfect placement on the pass. Oh, man. I mean, not on Darnold in this situation, but immediately capitalizing. Immediately going to take a 10-point lead. Special teams, once again, may have swung another conference moment. We've seen it on every level now. We saw it in Indiana, Miami. We saw the special teams play there for the score, help Indiana win that game. We saw the special teams play in Patriots Broncos. We've seen the special teams play now here in this one. We saw the special teams play in Seattle in the game prior to this. So this has been, again, the balance has been the theme as well, too. I mean, as it is every year. But for the most part, this year it has been these incredibly balanced, incredibly well-coached, highly talented teams. And the special teams themselves have time and time again been making plays. So, again, for the Rams, that's more a Rams maybe mistake as well than it is maybe a Seattle, play like it is a return or something like that. Or them maybe getting a strip or getting a hit or something and forcing the fumble from their own right. But regardless, if you're the Rams, of course, that is going to be the ultimate place that you're probably not going to be one of making mistakes there is in the return game. And yeah, I don't know if that's a rookie. If we go check and see who we got here on kick return duty. Unfortunately, I think they may be going in a different direction for the rest of the game. It is what it is. Yeah, Xavier Smith now, 2 fumbles, 1 loss. Stafford, has a fumble in his own right. So, he hasn't played perfect there as well. Florida A&M, second season for our guy Xavier Smith. So, shout out. He has been pretty productive this year. He has been on the season, let's see, 18 receptions on 24 targets, 303 receiving yards. Not able to find his way in the end zone, but, again, can produce when he's out there, it looks like. Yeah, 2 for 57, 6 for 67 against Atlanta on a Monday night game. So, had to step up when he did. 3 first downs in that game. But were fumbles an issue all year? It doesn't really look like it. No fumbles all year, but just 2 in the kick return game that, unfortunately, again, the first one was not costly, but obviously set the tone for something to, foreshadowed anyways. Something that was going to happen earlier in the second one. The second one was. So, obviously the immediate chance to respond, but you hate to see it for our guy Xavier Smith put in this spot. Does this mean Puka, Kyron, Blake Corum? Do we get Blake Corum fielding some punts? Do we need to see who else is on this Rams roster? Who else can take this responsibility? Maybe this is another lesson. Maybe have a definite kick returner, a definite punt returner on the team. There have been, again, the teams with the punt returners have done pretty well. Devin Hester's team has been to the Super Bowl, but it still hasn't been a spot where it's like, yeah, we have to lock in having an awesome punt returner on this team. But this is definitely the costly advantage of it here, where you get a couple turnovers. They do, of course, have Whittingham. Whittingham can return punts. Ronnie Rivers maybe gives it a run. I'm not sure if you try a tight end or two. I mean, we've seen teams run with the defensive backs before at punt return. At McCreary? Could McCreary run punts? I'm trying to remember if McCreary had a fast or a slow 40. He might have had a slow 40 time. Emmanuel Forbes? Forbes might have had the fast. I think Forbes might have had a fast 40. Is this what this is? 4.3? Speed? Is that what this stands for? SP? Speed? Let me see here. What? Oh, combine. Yeah, height, weight, speed. So we got Akilio Witherspoon 4.5. Yeah, Emmanuel Forbes 6'1", 180, runs a 4.3. Can we get Forbes in the kick return game? I don't know if he has also had experience fielding punts. Stafford drops it in, 84. He's got it down the field again. Is that Parkinson? Oh, Parkinson might be hurt after that play. And Stafford, to open the last couple of drives, it has been the initial play where they have had the most success. Is that Job that they find, that they run the route on there? I mean, he is right in stride with the receiver. That's just a perfect pass by Stafford, putting that right over the top of the defender. And a little bit of a height mismatch there as well, too, that maybe allows that. So that's honestly probably where they're going to have to find their wins, maybe, is just where the taller guys are lined up at this point. Corum, the patience, finds a little opening pause. I don't know, 3-4 yards there is not bad. He doesn't really, unfortunately, in the NFL, it seems like, rip off the same amount of big plays that he does at Michigan, or did at Michigan. But he does, of course, consistently pick up positive yardage, which is, another great thing that you need your running backs to do. Again, at the end of the day, you are going to need your explosives at some point. But he can still be that consistent running threat for an offense. 2nd and 6. So already for them, based on, the last couple of plays, at the 31, 32. Oh, is that Adams? Stafford, a clinic all of a sudden. He's turned it on. Pause. It seemed like a type of game, Ayo, you might just need to get rolling a little bit. Stafford, I don't know. It's like the old man trying to get is this like do we have to call the quarterbacks like the get out of the chair performance? Like you got to get a couple of momentum, like, Ayo, like really get a good start. And then all of a sudden now you're standing, now you're going. You can't get too comfortable. You can't sit in a chair that's too soft because you got to actually be able to stand up later. Becomes a problem when I think you're older. Again, we're not, fortunately we're not talking from experience yet. But, Stafford, he just needed a couple pushes, pause, to get out of the chair. And that drive, he just dropped it in every time. So, and like we said, the Seattle defensive backs were definitely giving him a problem. They were definitely making plays on the football there on those previous drives. So not everything was on Stafford being inaccurate. But for him having to go to that extra level to dial it in against these Seattle defensive backs, he has done that. And that time Adams does get the step a little bit on Woolen to the outside. So our guy Woolen, shout out. We do like Woolen as well too. hopefully he doesn't become a bit of a liability in this game. But maybe you could see them attacking that spot slightly more. The field goal up and good. So at least they're able to quickly erase the painful play that happened on the other end. You know, again, still down 4. Not saying you forget about it, but at least mentally you're back on track. The Seattle offense now, you know, again, they did score quickly, but they have not seen the field a ton yet to start the third quarter. So there is sort of that, okay, you know, initial first drive-esque rhythm that the quarter still has the feel of. In a normal competitive sense there, you can't feel like you gave up too much at this point. You know, you can walk away from those last couple of drives not feeling like you gave too much, not remembering too much the muff punt that was committed there. Unless, of course, Seattle continues to score, and then they will, you know, that separation will definitely be a reminder of what happened. But yeah, we'll see if they force a punt the next time. Who is back fielding it? I guess probably not Poona Ford, defensive tackle, but long snapper Jake McQuaid. Yeah, Forbes, Durant. I guess, do we check all their weapons out here? Let's see here. Corum, Hunter, Tutu Atwell, Whittingham, and then Mumford would be the only. Mumfield, Konta Munfield, and then Xavier Smith, True Edwards, Brennan Presley. So yeah, they really don't have a ton of guys to go to. Forbes might actually be a good guess, or Quorum at this point. It is what it is. We got who with the 4-6? Devontae Adams with the 4-6. Blazing speed on the Rams offense, and Davis Allen with the 4-8. So they may be having to hope for like squib kicks, and Davis Allen fields a couple squib kicks, and then all of a sudden he's off to the races. Oh no, chat. The Spurs are down 20 to the Pelicans. What are we doing not paying attention here? Carter Bryant's in the game. We did see Wembanyama early. Did Wembanyama get hurt? Something happened. Speaking of point shaving, hey, yo. Yeah, we're not going to sit here and accuse our guy, obviously. It's all fun and games. It's just jokes. It's just a goofy. But the joke, the fact, this is a joke right here. The fact that we're down 17 now to the Pelicans. Oh, make it 19 again. Matovich with the putback off the offensive rebound. So, yeah, Carter Bryant, Vassell, Corum, Keldon Johnson is still some of the bench guys, you know, in the lineup. Hey, yo, if Carter Bryant's going to be out here taking tough threes. We got Dylan Harper almost gets the putback jam. Doesn't quite get it. If Carter Bryant's going to be taking tough threes, you know, hey, yo, some of the offensive possessions might die a little quicker than normal. But down 20 to the Pelicans. Derek Queen, is he cooking? What happened? Is Wemby in foul trouble because Derek Queen's just on a tear right now? That would be an interesting turn of events for, you know, a fun January random January Sunday night, I guess, in the NBA. Vassell for 3. Hey, yo. They're dialed in. They're just not quite getting them to go. That was just off the back of the iron there. The last Carter Bryant attempt was just a little bit off and almost kind of rolled in as well, too. So Harper rebound the other end. 19. At least they're keeping it within the teens. Not officially going to 20. Harper, the drive. And Harper is a big body, physical pause, you know, guy that can get to the basket as well and cause havoc there. And he just hasn't been able to convert a layup, convert a close look as well, too. Like they just missed that other putback dunk. So here we go. The Seattle, their chance to respond. Kenneth Walker, still the short run. Let's see what we've got here for Seattle's longest run of the game so far. It would seem like it would still be pretty contained. Maybe they had one early that they did. Excuse us. Oh, the yawns chat. Hey, yeah. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. Let's see what we got here. Box score for the Seahawks running backs. They have had a 8 and a 3. So Kenneth Walker for 8 is his longest carry. Again, we could even go double check the 119 that he had in the last game here and see if he was able to break off something super crazy But, again, the Rams have definitely contained here for the most part. And that one touchdown they did give up was around the goal line. So nothing super crazy in terms of, the high level play there. So yeah, week 18, 3-13 versus the 49ers. And I guess we were actually looking for the playoff game, not the last game of the regular season that they played. But Cooper Kupp converts a first down. Clutch play for Darnold. Clutch play for Kupp. Cooper Kupp revenge game. We haven't even mentioned Cooper Kupp revenge game. Super Bowl revenge game. Won the Super Bowl. Had the greatest receiver season of all time with this franchise that he's playing against. And now has a chance to eliminate him from the playoffs. But from the Walker standpoint, only along a 15 as well too in the last game. So again, sort of the consistency and the constant 5-6 yard pickups for him in that game. And it really needs to be that as well too if he doesn't have it all made up for him in like a 40-yard carry at one point. Oh man. It's not obviously a high level game. It is what it is. This is a carryover from the Patriots Broncos game, 10-7. Shout out. But 24-20, we're definitely not short any offense here. And you imagine the fourth quarter could potentially incite some chaos as well. And Seattle scoring. I mean, Seattle, again, are they going to score every drive here? Are they going to get to 40 in this game? But if you do score 40, this is the pace that you have for a 40-point performance. They could score here, before the third quarter is over for sure with 6:45. And then you're looking at 31 points going into the fourth quarter. You score once more in the fourth quarter, you get a 2-point conversion. You're just going to be short of actually cracking that threshold. But you could definitely get a touchdown and a field goal in the fourth quarter if you put up a touchdown here on this drive. So the Seahawks, could they be in contention? I don't know if we're calling it too early or not. But we did have that record last year where Philly was just going crazy with their offense in the championship and conference championship games. And in the Super Bowl as well, too, included. It's one of the great scoring performances that we've had in offense. What did they score? Like 100 points in those two games. So they could have maybe in the 3-4 game stretch here, potentially, if they go super crazy, could they have the highest in that cycle if their offense is really cooking? But JSN this time, and this goes to what we were saying about the Broncos. Like, they just wouldn't run that play for Cortland Sutton, really. Just a little swing pass out to the outside. JSN picks it up, knifes his way through the defense. He gets himself a first down. It's not a 70-yard play. It's not a 50-yard play, but you get 12 yards. You move the sticks. Darnold gets a little bit of rhythm. All of a sudden, JSN's getting a touch, pause. He's getting an opportunity as well, too. Like an NBA player, you're just going to need to feed your guys a certain amount of looks over the course of the game. Barner, actually this time with the reception underneath, 2nd and 3. So 18 for 278, and 2 touchdowns. And, it really is a toss-up at this point between him and JSN. Who is, MVP you want to nominate from that team, I guess. It really just depends on, again, if you're going to value the quarterback play or what JSN as receiver value has meant to this team. But it would be interesting, obviously, if you take JSN off the team and give him like Devontae Adams or something. Or, again, Cortland Sutton's still a pretty good number 1. So, I don't know, Alec Pierce? If you gave the Seahawks Alec Pierce, Alec Pierce is still pretty good, though. As well, too. Like, as long as they have a pretty good receiver, and as long as you have Darnold, again, the best version of Darnold is going to make you set. So that would be, of course, the question on whether or not Darnold is going to be consistent enough to get you through to that playoff run. But this could be it. This could be it. Who knows? He finds, is that Kupp? Is that Kupp for his second touchdown of the game? Have they been feeding Cooper Kupp in the revenge game? Hey, yo. You love to see it. You love the fact that he's still getting the opportunities. Oh, no, that's still his first touchdown of the game. 2 receptions, 25 yards, and a touchdown now for Cooper Kupp on the day. JSN, 9 for 139 and a touchdown. So, yeah, they've definitely sold out guarding him. And a lot of these other guys end up being one-on-one And now all of a sudden you get him not even being, none on one and just wandering in, falling into the end zone, touchdown, extra point, up and away. Is it good? We saw a lot of field goal struggles in the last game. This one right down the middle. Doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't have a foot of snow being poured on top of it, so a little bit easier for it to go, right through the uprights. It is what it is. But 31-20 for Seattle. So yeah, they're knocking on the door of another crazy offensive performance. But like we were saying, not to continue to gripe about the Broncos. It is what it is. But this just, again, shows you maybe the matchup that they were the team that was actually supposed to represent the AFC. And I kind of have been thinking that all year as well, too, looking at their roster. Again, the one thing that has been the definite barrier to that, just the mental thing, again, has been the quarterback. It is what it is. So if Bo Nix has been able to play at that level, it's like, yeah, this team should be the team that is probably the best team in the AFC over the course of the year. But, again, unfortunately, it is what it is at this point, but it's why they're able to be so close as well, too. Hey, yo, it is what it is. It's why they're able to be so close in that game, obviously, in the defense and the roster being able to keep up here. But, yeah, for the most part, 19-3, I guess, against LA. 20-13 against Kansas City, 20-34 against the Jags. So there was a little bit of a downstretch there going to end the year. But, yeah, 34 against Green Bay, 24 against Vegas, 27 against Washington, 22. I guess it's a little bit of them playing to their opponent as well, too. You see really barely just doing enough to win most of the time. Pause. 10-7 against the Raiders. 18-15 against Houston. 44-24 against Dallas. And again, the Dallas defense is definitely a little bit of an easier matchup against some of these teams. Were they playing Green Bay? Was it the game that Micah Parsons got hurt in? Or was that afterwards? I forget exactly the timeline for his injury there. But for the most part, when their offense needed them to thrive, they definitely did. You had the 3-point loss to the Chargers, the loss to Indy that was, kind of a fluky loss there. And, again, ultimately didn't really matter because they ended up being the 1 seed, so that's not a what if that you can have for this season. It's like, oh, what if they had won that game? But, again, probably should have been 15-2 just to prove how good they are. And Jacksonville was the one time that they actually got beat by another team. And another team definitively won a game over them at that point. So like we're saying, their offense was able to get to this range where maybe if they had to play Seattle with Bo Nix and if they were healthy, maybe they could go toe to toe with them here. But the Seattle offense is definitely, showing their true ability to be able to just carve these teams up and down the field. And the Seahawks defense hasn't even really, I guess, of course, the special teams forced a turnover on the last drive. But the defense itself hasn't even really forced a turnover yet. Stafford actually hasn't really even thrown an interception ball at this point. He's had a couple of, again, batted passes, defended passes, but I can't say that Stafford himself has really given one to the defense based on his own, just kind of his own throwing. But we've got another penalty that's going to take a while to sort out. Clay Martin, shout out, likes getting it right, pause. We got a hold on Seattle again. Another penalty. Oh, jeez, chat. Another penalty to move back the line of scrimmage for a block. Hey, yo, we don't even really know what is going on there. But is that the first penalty of the game for the Rams? Hey, they get on the board third quarter. Special teams, though, backs them up. Yeah, 10 yards at the 13-yard line. Stafford, the defender falls down. It's Adams again. So Adams might have to be the matchup at this point where you do have, of course, the focus on Puka, but you're also going to have Witherspoon over. Oh, is it Witherspoon that fell down? I was assuming that it was going to be Woolen again that he was matched up on. But no, Witherspoon was actually the one that fell down that time. Hey, yo, so Adams, he's out here cooking the best of the best still. Even in his advanced age, it is what it is. Oh, Parkinson. E-Man Worry gets in for the stop. The physical hit. Oh, no, there's a flag at the end of the play. I don't know why my immediate reaction went to roughing the passer. We might get a hold. You know, I don't know if it was just late on the graphic updating or what happened. Illegal use. Oh, hands in the face in the defense. Was that on 3? Oh, no, that was on somebody else. Hand fighting. Oh, it was on Woolen. Woolen this time with Puka Nacua. So Woolen, hey, yo, we're getting it all backwards. Tariq Woolen is the better receiver, the better corner. They've got him on the better receiver right now in Puka. And they've got Witherspoon, I guess, off on his own assignment. It is what it is. I don't know why you wouldn't want Witherspoon on Puka. Probably maybe just the physical advantage. Who knows? But Witherspoon's a physical receiver as well, too. So I don't know if you just make that work and just say, hey, do you want the matchup? But I guess he'll take the side of the field. He'll cover everything down over there. The run is not good for much, but it is, again, Corum being sneaky. Oh, no, it's our guy Williams. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. We need to get Corum some more stats. Williams is going to overtake him here pretty soon in the rushing leader for the game for the Rams. Turner hopping off to the locker room. And Whittington, the receiver, hobbling off as well, too. So there goes their backup punt returner, Whittington, if they have to go there. Stafford, oh, this is going to be a hold on the Rams as the defender rounded the corner, the tackle, and then they threw the flag. It's like, oh, no. That's right in the vicinity. You've got Kyron Williams going for not much on this play. If it's going to be a spot foul, it's going to make third down pretty difficult. Illegal use of hands once again. So they've get him with the 5 yards. Is that 5 or is that 10? And I guess they do get to replay. Replay if it's second down. Replay if it's that type of penalty. I'm not sure, but hey, you'll take the second life. Take the chance to do over. So definitely gets the stab in the face mask. And you saw the minute the defender kind of dipped and then turned back up to the quarterback at that point, then the defender was like, whoop, hey, whoop. It is, but, you know, you are able to still get the rest of it there, pause, even without that. So you got the motion to the outside. We've got man on 2nd and 15. They run it against man. Is that just the call at this point against Michael Mann? I'm not sure. I don't know if he's audible to the call every time as well, too. I think he might have honestly elbowed out of it. So maybe he just did it that time to pause, to, you know, mix it up for consistency. But be consistently inconsistent. But 3rd and 12 is going to be another situation where they have not been successful, like we've said, on third downs. I think they were saying early in the game, you know, is it going to be the key for the Rams on 1st and 2nd down? And you see that as well, too, that once you get into the 3rd down, you feel like you're almost a little bit cooked at that point. And it's Woolen once again running perfectly with Puka Nacua. He is stride for stride, able to jump in front and knock that away. I don't know, slow receivers for the Rams, these Midwest guys, are able to keep up. I don't know if that's the takeaway or not, but Woolen as a step behind him. Honestly, maybe just another throw, just a little bit behind. Puka has to play defender there and knock that out. But if he puts that up and over and just leads him out in front, he might have been able to loft that in. You know, running toward the sideline, I don't know if he would have been able to turn upfield and make more yards after the catch there. But, you know, if he gets it up over the defender, you're still looking at 20, 25 for everything in that at that point. But 4,000 or 4th down and 12. We got a penalty. Is this going to move the line of scrimmage around? A. Automatic 1st down. So Woolen, who just made the 1st down play, is just immediately going to give it right back. Oh, that's a... Hey, yo. We have just the Romo soundbite. We could drop it in right there. But that's a whole 1st down. That's a whole possession you're giving back as well. Just right away, a free play. You know, you never really think about the after the play unsportsmanlike conduct, even, you know, maybe after the touchdown celebration or, I don't know, after a sack or something. I don't know. But, oh, was he jawing with a coach or something? He said something to the sideline. He got in the face of the sideline. You know, the competitive nature. I mean, sometimes you just let the ref, you just like, let the guys be competitive. Puka! Oh, Puka to the pylon. Touchdown. So just like, you know, I guess that wasn't special teams. It was going to be special teams when they sent out the punt. Oh, the Seattle fans, you can hear the boos. Is it the boo for Woolen? Woolen getting torched again, chat. That's why we said I thought he was the one that fell down. They were going for him. They do have him on Puka that time, though, so that is the matchup, I guess, at this point. But, yeah, he was kind of juggling a little bit. Maybe we'll see if the slide out of bounds, if he has possession, when he, I guess, when he just falls in the end zone is got to be the question for the most part. He definitely falls down inbounds. The hip is down inbounds. You know, basically the whole lower body, and then he's rolling down like the upper body onto the elbow, onto the shoulder as he's sliding out of bounds. But I would assume with the hip down and with the thigh down as well. Like the leg doesn't actually go down, but pause. But again, with the backside and everything making contact, I imagine that's enough of a point proven. So both teams capitalizing off of each other's biggest mistakes so far immediately, with Seattle scoring off of the muffed punt, and now LA taking advantage off of the penalty on special teams or on third down after the play. And that is, like we're saying, the veteran quarterbacks stepping up. They're obviously reading the defense and making great plays within the actual, obviously, play itself. But their ability to know in the moment when to mentally capitalize on an opportunity or not. Or, you know, not obviously or not, but when to really know, like, hey, this is the moment that we have to capitalize on this stuff. This is the stuff where you have to, you can flip the balance of the power in the game, depending on what it is. And chat, I don't know how I feel about this Microsoft commercial. There's a Microsoft commercial where this scout, and they've got him in Tampa Bay Buccaneers getup. So we'll just call it the Buccaneers since they're obviously allowing this to happen to some degree. He's using like Microsoft Copilot AI to select his draft prospect. He says, give me all the draft prospects, the linebackers with the 4.3 speed under this, which is actually like, okay, you know, using ChatGPT to filter out some stuff. That makes total sense. You know, kind of saves you the process from having to go through the whole list and be like, is this guy 4.3? Is this guy not? Is this guy 4.3? Is this guy not? You know, hey, yo, you got a nicer deluxe version of the thing you can just, you know, grab and go, pause, it's good to go. But for like we're saying, for the scouting, it is definitely going to be a little sketchy if they are going to be using Microsoft to just predict what these guys are doing. And he's like, hey, tell me which defender is going to be getting 100 tackles in the season. Like, what happened to watching film? I thought that was the whole point of watching the film, was you were going to make that call. You were going to be like, hey, I watch what this guy does, and then I project, do I think this guy can get 100 tackles in the season? I guess, you know, using the stats to compile and, you know, again, obviously there has been some, you know, AI, but there's been some version of the filtering and the, what do you call it? Like the, you know, like guys will, you know, take receivers based on certain stats and based on certain attributes, and defensive linemen, you know, offensive linemen with arms, you know, like what's the wingspan on the offensive lineman? Like traits. That's the word I'm looking for. There are obviously teams that will draft based on certain traits alone. So there's been a sort of like, hey, can you give us all the prospects at this speed with these, you know, with this wingspan, this 40 time, this cone drill, do they have this sort of upside, whatever. So that, like, to some degree, it's already been happening. But the idea, I think, to just rely on AI to be like, hey, can you take these stats and project which prospect is going to be the best? And I think that's obviously a simplified version of a team just being like, oh, well, okay, we're going to use AI only to make our choice. But it's just like, you can see that maybe right now it's that slow burn to like, where are we at in 10 years? Where are we at in 15 years? Are GMs, are they going to even be interviewing? Do you watch film? Is that going to be a question anymore? Or is it going to be something where it's like, hey, you know, what's your success with AI programming models? What's your, how well have your AI predictive models have been at this point? But
again, other like people have almost done this with gambling in a sense, and they've tried to make predictive team decisions based on gambling. Oh, chat, and this is like an old school, Seattle team. We've got the defense fighting with each other on the sidelines. Hey, yo. So the Seattle team might actually be bound for the Super Bowl. It is still a 4-point game. But now do the Rams have the momentum? Hey, yo. The Rams did not get broken after their punt return. You got to give them credit for that. You did see the encouragement for Smith on the sideline. You did see the players rallying around him. And again, unfortunately not able to get the stop right away, but their offense was able to respond. So, Eman Wari, though, our guy Eman Wari, hey, yo, chat, team chemistry 2K rating is dropping for Eman Wari and Woolen. It is what it is. But the sideline, I guess, reacting in a little bit of a different way, unfortunately, for Seattle. We'll have to see if that actually, matters in performance. One way or the other, it could be, if it was like the Legion of Boom, it'll actually make them a better defense. It'll help lock them in. It'll help increase their production. Shaheed, they tried to run the reverse jet sweep to Shaheed, but the Rams are right there ready for it. This is maybe now they have you gone through your cycle of what your Shaheed plays are. Do you need to actually keep him on the field? We need to pay attention. Him on the field just running normal routes and being a part of down the field plays versus those creative behind the line of scrimmage things and the sets and having him in motion, moving him around, trying to actually, like we're saying, focus on getting him the ball. You need to just have him out there as gravity and as speed, and if he gets open, Darnold can find him, obviously. And again, his speed alone, I feel like you just need to take advantage of that at some point. And they start with JSN in the backfield as well, too. So Shaheed now is a receiver. JSN's a running back because Shaheed's so good. Kenneth Walker, also a receiver, and this time trying to find Kenneth Walker again down the sideline. So maybe, like we're saying, gets a little starey at times, but you see his head twisting, his head moving. He definitely checked back across his field and thought about maybe going there. So I don't know if he saw exactly what we saw, but he's at 291 for the game, so he could cross the 300-yard threshold third quarter. 100 yards a quarter for our guy Sam Darnold would be an impressive run here in the conference championship game. He is fake snapping. Oh, he's giving us a little bit of a hard count, but he does end up running a play, and they do end up getting a first down. Hey, yo. So I guess the quarter itself was not about to run out, or anything, even though it seemed like the situation was tightening for him to get the snap off. But the running back to the outside, diving at the pylon, that's twice now trying to target Kenneth Walker out of the backfield, and the running backs. Maybe now the focus on the secondary to just take away everything that the Seahawks are trying to do there. But they've been running a little bit of these jumbo sets as well, too. So less receivers and less of that downfield personnel in the game. Stafford dropping back. Again, really only two options on this route. Floats it up. It's another pass to the running back. So Holland again, driving 6 yards. A favorable second down. Honestly, best case scenario for the way that seemed like it was going to go. But, hey, that seemed like we might need to investigate. Oh, we do have a defensive line return for the Rams here as we enter the fourth quarter. So they will be back a little closer to full strength to pressure Darnold. So don't go anywhere. This is going to be exciting. 4-point game. We've already got both teams well past 25 points. Both quarterbacks really, laying it all on the line in the conference title game against division rivals. Stafford, 265, 3 touchdowns and 0 picks. And Darnold, 306, 3 touchdowns, 0. I mean, this is a quarterback classic game. And we're here to witness it, chat, right after this. Don't go anywhere. Fourth quarter. Hey, yo. We're giving the Rams an extra quarter. Hey, do we really need to win this game, I guess? No, fourth quarter, right after this.
All right, Chad. It's Samble and Scram with the second down, first down pickup to start the first quarter, if that makes any sense. But either way, first down for the Seahawks, as of course they keep it moving here. Oh, the pressure up the middle. Is that a blitzer, Chad? Hey, yo. We haven't seen, I think, and we haven't really seen him get to Darnold much, but in terms of the secondary blitzers, but that is the first time we really maybe seen him dial up a guy from the cornerback like that. And the offensive line, nobody accounts for him. Kitchens, shout out, able to get in there for the easy pressure. Because, yeah, again, rush 4, that defensive line does a great job of holding down that pass rush and keeping the quarterbacks off target. But 2nd and 19 now, and they go back behind the 50. So, even out of the field goal range as well, too. Darnold, though, the check down to Cooper Kupp, gets you back just across the 53rd down. So, you're going to be setting yourself up for hopefully even a little bit of a field goal here as well. Would make it a touchdown game. Memory of a Killer. Is this a show starring a guy from is that the guy from Grey's Anatomy? He's going to be, so he's going the assassin route now. Hey, yo. He's the for everybody doctor, ayo. And now he's got to be the cool action star. I don't know if that'll just be another drama though as well. We'll have to see. I don't know. Same audience. Oh, Verse getting a little antsy. He's like, if I get the free rush to the quarterback, I'm gonna take it. So they had to stop in there and save the play. Darnold would have gotten absolutely destroyed. We may have lost Darnold for the game if Verse had been able to keep up the free rush there. He was going with a mission. Hey, yo. And I mean, it helps when you get a false start and the rest of the team stops. You're definitely going to have a clear path, and the speed comparison that you have on the field is going to look a little, again, you're going to be playing at a different speed. But I mean, he was going to be playing at a different speed regardless of who was playing fast, pause, in that possession or not. Lined up wide on the outside. So we'll see if they try to throw in blitzes now in 3rd down. No, see, back to 4. They stunt, though, this time. Verse around the edge and into the inside. And it's Durant. Durant with the defense. The block shot, the batted pass on Shaheed. He gives him plenty of space to operate with. They're definitely baiting. And beautiful punch out. Beautiful punch out. Picture perfect. We were literally watching Mike Tyson highlights before we queued up the Spurs game. And, the Spurs are back. What did we miss, chat? Hey, yo, it's like a magic trick. It's like the Pelicans are tanking or something. The Spurs were literally just down 20. And all of a sudden they're up 2. Zion, is he getting fouled on? Okay, so maybe they'll tie it back up here. We'll see. But, did the Kyron Williams field? No, out of bounds. Okay, Rams getting the ball back. Hey, yo, Spurs. In the 4th quarter, there's only 3 minutes left, so I guess this game will wrap up before Rams Seahawks. We got a journalistic integrity. We got to follow the end of this game. The Wemby defense on Derek Queen, on Missy. We've got Missy and Zion. Hey, yo, where's our guy Derek Queen? Can we run a Missy, Zion, Derek Queen combo? Is that the forgotten part of the Derek Queen trade? Eves Missy, obviously not a part of the. Hopefully we said his first name right. I'm just gonna blow past it like we did. But the center that they did actually take in the 1st round the year before. So not only did Dumars trade next year's first, but he neutralized last year's as well too. He basically gave up 3 first-round picks for Derek Queen. Nobody talks about that. Oh, Zion in transition gets to the basket. We haven't seen Zion dunk it in like 8 months. Hey, yo, shout out to Zion. And why is he jogging like he's going to have to take the next 3 games off after throwing down? He's like, just like pulled a hammy after that dunk. Hey, yo, he had to fly to the basket and like avoid a defender almost in the air. So maybe it would have been a little bit of different, if it's like a dribble to the basket, 1 dribble straight up, just dunk it. But flying in transition, you're taking off of 1 foot maybe. And then maybe it's not even like a perfect takeoff, and all of a sudden you're like, flying around the defender. Hey, yo. So good to see that Zion can still, I guess, fly around a defender on a dunk. Obviously, he can still dunk. Hey, yo. The man's an NBA athlete. But the
the sky high, unstoppability, athleticism that was there at one point as well. Still good to see the remnants of that. That's the remnants. Still seem good to tap into that bag at some point. Pause. As well too. Every now and then, I don't know, making an audition for a potential San Antonio bid at some point. Could San Antonio make a move for Zion? I don't know. I guess the wing players that San Antonio does have, obviously a guy like Trey Murphy, and there is that talk obviously of like, do you trade Trey Murphy? It's like, hey, or you just keep Trey Murphy to build around him as well too, if he is that cornerstone piece that they have. And again, if he's that wing player, maybe you're not like coveting other wings if he's your main guy, but there's that versatility that you can just pair him with whatever type of player that you're having there as well too, that you would trade for, or picks that you would end up drafting for. But yeah, obviously, like we've said in the past, maybe the time for Zion, but maybe Messi weirdly becomes a trade candidate as well too. Like, do you think a Zion Derek Queen? We have to think, why is Derek Queen not out here in the last 2.5 minutes? Is he in foul trouble? Oh, Trey Murphy. Oh, Chet. Trey Murphy just buries a three from the corner right in the face of Steph Castle. Hey, yo. We hate to see it, but you gotta give him credit. You gotta tip your cap. 6 for 20, only a 6 make of the day, but he makes it when it counts. So we still are keeping an eye. 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter of the NFC Championship game. Maybe a little bit more important than Spurs Pellies in January, but regardless, there is only 2 minutes left, so we are just keeping up with the end of game scenarios here on the Rem and Sam live stream. We're a national sports pod. We cover the entire sports industry. We're gonna get John Hamm to re-record his line from the town about the Rem and Sam pod. That's gonna be our intro. As we are, or we can we just get copyright? Can we just not get copyright? We'll just see how long we can get away with it. Might be. Stay tuned for our new intro chat. We just cooked it up. We are a national organization. The Rem and Sam pod. What do we get? I don't know. Maybe we'll cook up a different intro sound after that, but that'll be the drop. We are a national organization, so that's why, because that's our brand, we have to watch, I guess, the last 2 minutes of the Spurs game as well too. Though Kyron Williams with the juke moves definitely catching our attention. The Rams are driving. I did just see him also put up the stats that say the Rams are now passing the Seahawks for total yardage in this game as well too. So their offense in this second half and in the last couple of drives here, their defense as well too, mostly, has gotten some stops when it's counted. And maybe Stafford's veteranism here in the fourth quarter. Another Rem and Sam, a term that we have here on the national Rem and Sam pod, veteranism. When guys are veterans and it shows in late game scenarios. Veteranism. Matt Stafford. Hopefully the veteranism can, be a beneficial thing for him here as he is nearing the 300-yard mark and been able to find Kyron as well too in this last couple of drives. Like, they haven't really targeted Puka as much as even on the field here on this drive. Stafford, the bootleg, deep throw. Oh, is that going to be picked off? Who was even the intended target there? It was number 15. I guess we'll have to get a real identification. We didn't have him on the waiver wire this year, so we're not totally certain on who that is. In a replay of the special teams mistake from earlier as well, and then, of course, Woolen making his mistake, giving Nakua, I guess, literally the last touchdown, so they did target him there. But, in terms of the drives, there have been able to find success in the offense in other places, and like we're saying, in Kyron in the second half. Kyron picking up the block here on the blitz, able to find Parkinson underneath, able to shed some tacklers. So now the receiver is starting to run away from the secondary as well too. I don't know if the defense is wearing out, but you're nearing 400 total yards here for the game for the Rams. Again, obviously the offense has been out there and running around now for quite a bit, and just a very conservative defense that time, giving up just giving up a lot of the stuff underneath there and keeping everything in front of him. But it was a lot of yardage before he was running into the defenders 62 on the game now for Parkinson. So Stafford, again to Corum, our forgotten guy, Blake Corum, who unfortunately I think Kyron Williams has taken his role back in this game as the lead runner. But they continue to utilize both. Who would have thought going into the game, I guess it wouldn't have been super surprising. And again, I guess Charbonnet injured as well too. And Kenneth Walker has, at least tried to do an admirable job. Like we said, the Seahawks offensive line has had some positive forward movement for a lot of it. But over the last couple of weeks, just not quite able to create, again, the big explosive plays. And, again, last week it didn't matter, but maybe this week, maybe this next drive as well too, super important. They actually still have the opportunity to get a stop here as well. So we're not going to start chalking them up for, a loss and things that they've done super wrong to help contribute to that. But, again, to see the run game in a little bit of a different direction today, like we're saying, it would definitely benefit from a big chunk scenario. So now, 17 for 26, 18 for 27 for Stafford. We need like a last 10 sort of scenario. Last 12, he is really, really cooking. 28 dropbacks, 7 pressures, but he's been moving around in the pocket pretty good here in the fourth quarter, making quick decisions. Oh, Parkinson's with a big drop on third down. Did we just call him, what's his name, Parkinson? Parkinson, Hey, yo. Would we say Cody J. Parkinson? I don't know, but he was wide open. Oh, just look. He wasn't even looking up the field. You start looking at the field to the other defenders. He just literally just dropped. He was staring at it the whole time. Oh, Chad, and the gloves. There's no excuse. Is it raining? What's going on? He's not wearing a Guardian cap. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything. What could possibly be the reason? But 4th and 1, if you kick the field goal here, a field goal would give you the win. Stafford, run, baby. Oh, Stafford, reach. Oh, he gets the first down. Oh, it's a brutal, Stafford even running for a yard. It's tense, I guess. The old man, he still can barely scramble, but he's able to pick up the first down. Again, the field goal there, if you get the stop on the next drive, you're still only a field goal away. So the fact that was such an easy decision as well, too. Shout out our guy Mevis, who has, knocked in a couple field goals when it mattered, but I guess not necessarily relying on him there or feeling a field goal is enough to get the win. You give up the field goal the other way, of course you're back to the 4-point game. But I don't know. It's of course a difficult call that, again, did obviously work out in their favor. And is this an offensive penalty now on the Rams? Hey, their first offensive penalty of the game, and once again in the red zone. I think maybe going a little bit too quick here in consecutive. Oh, offsides on the defense. Oh, they got Seattle. Oh, Stafford, never mind. Perfect speed. Ayo, pause. That's Knight, the linebacker. They got him jumping there. I guess we were just falling for the Seattle defense, signaling for the Rams. They were just being more convincing when they were on camera there for a second. So unfortunately, it's not a make or case situation this time with the penalties. Was he offsides? I guess 48 was. Maybe we need to listen into Brady explain. I don't know. They just went to the overhead shot there. Maybe one of the guys was offside. It didn't seem like it was 48, so maybe just the wrong number. I'm not sure. But either way, 1st and 5 for the Rams. Stafford on the bootleg once again. Passes. Oh, he's going to have to keep it himself. Flips to Puka. Oh, Stafford, the improv. And there's the MVP play, chat. Collinsworth is not on the call, so somebody's got a QB-gasm here when they make a great play. And that was obviously not the design. I don't know if that was even a bailout option, if Puka was even on a route, or if he was just supposed to be blocking and standing there the whole time. But clearly a screenplay that Stafford rightly decided not to throw, and then rightly decided not to run. Again, Stafford can't even, that first step immediately, he's halfway through taking it, and there's 4 defenders there. But the flip to Nakua, oh, Mahomes level stuff, chat. Hey, yo, it's been 2-3 quarters since we brought the Chiefs back up. So what? Only Mahomes could make up. Oh, we see Mahomes make plays like that all the time. And he has 3 Super Bowls. Stafford's trying to get his second. He's gonna have to make some Mahomes level plays to get some Mahomes level numbers in the playoffs. Am I right? So that's Hey, yo, the highlight playmaking improv Matt Stafford play right there. Puka now for 7 for 121 for his own stats as well too. Yeah, Stafford 20 for 30 and really it's been that one drop by Parkinson. 7 for 9. Is that on this drive or was that? I think that was on this drive. So he has been, this has been again a dominant drive as well. What are they at on the play count for this drive? Time as well too. And we've got, I guess, for once our feed is ahead of the ESPN feed. I'm afraid to refresh and see where we're at here. Maybe they added time back. Current drive in progress. 12 plays, 13 plays. Oh, yep, there we go. Now we're jumped ahead. 5:06. We're at 5:12 right now in the gameplay feed. So we got an incomplete to Mumfeld up next. Is Mumfeld 15? Is that who he was going to last time? No, Mumfeld. Hey, yo, Stafford stepping up in the pocket. Sidearm, slinging it. Hey, yeah, it was 15 Mumfeld, and it was Witherspoon on the coverage, 3rd and 4. Oh, there's no way you can go for this. Do you have to commit and go for this? Mevis? You have to send Mevis out there for the chip shot. Devontae Adams covered. I'm assuming they'll show us a couple of the different receiver routes here. Nakua. You had Kyron Williams. Kind of. I don't know if he throws back to Kyron Williams there. Oh, that's just a good play by Witherspoon. He definitely had him. Oh, McVay! McVay's putting it all on the line, chat. This feels like the Super Bowl all of a sudden. This feels like the Super Bowl. I mean, I know the Patriots have a chance, but holy cow, Stafford finds a man. Oh, chat. Witherspoon. Oh. Are they going to call a penalty? He's giving attitude like they're going to call a penalty, but I don't see a flag. I think he just needs to celebrate this time. Actually, the time the corner should be celebrating. Hey, yo, Stafford. I don't think he actually had a man that time. Witherspoon was he threw it right to Witherspoon. Oh, McVay just buries his face in his play sheet. Oh, chat, you should have kicked a field goal. You should have just taken the points. You should have just taken the points. I mean, you're going to, Seattle, it's not like there's a kickoff, obviously. Seattle's going to take over deep in territory. I get, we get the math here on the Rim and Sam pod. But obviously just an empty possession is difficult in any fourth quarter scenario, and especially after a 14-play drive like that. And I guess, it's a good thing we weren't paying attention on this, 4th and 4 read here. We were seeing it's incomplete. We were still able to experience the drama of the 4th down play. It is what it is. Oh, and the Spurs game ended. I'm assuming the Spurs win. We're showing some hyped up highlights. So it's not like, do they show the bummer highlights when we lose? Like all the turnovers and the free throws? Champagny with the dunk, the fans cheering. I think we were able to, I'm assuming because the Pelicans are eyeing, Cam Boozer to pair next to Trey Murphy, that the Spurs ended up winning this game. It is what it is. Can we get a final score for this one? I'm not sure. I guess we should probably switch the games as well too, since it is perfect timing. Since it isn't commercial, since the Rams did go for the 4th down and didn't get it, we do have a second to switch over NBA games and see what else is happening here. The Warriors were playing the T-Wolves a little bit. Suns versus Heat. Oh, I think we might have a winner there. Hey, yo. Oh, the Raptors up on the Thunder with 21 seconds left in the 4th. I guess our journalistic, we have to tune into that one. Hey, yo. The Heat-Suns game is at the half, so literally nothing happening there quite yet. Are we going to see a Shea game winner over Brandon Ingram? Is Glorilla in the house? Is that why they're winning against the Thunder? Is that what's going to help motivate them to compete against these title-winning teams? I'm not sure. But either way, a couple of clutch scenarios here. We'll see if they're able to get the upset win in OKC as well, too. So if they go on the road, an impressive win, continue to hold off this team in the 4th quarter. I'm assuming Shea is playing because, he always plays, shout out, and he was on the League Pass graphic. So, no excuses there. I don't know. The Raptors aren't necessarily like a team where it's like, you need an excuse. They can play up to an opponent on a given night. It is what it is. They're going to win some games. But Dort, the player of the game, and they're down 2. Shout out. I guess this is the Thunder broadcast, but 19 tonight. I guess if Dort's your leading scorer and he doesn't have 20, what does that mean for Shea? Is this the first bad Shea game of the season? Hey, yo. All I don't know why we're, focused on calling it out if it is. But just to get a sense of, hey, why are the Raptors hanging with this team? Ingram dribbling it out. They're not able to get the foul. Who just had it there? Ingram, Scotty Barnes, somebody? We got Abaji. Hey, we got to catch up on Raptors basketball. It is what it is. I guess we watch enough Thunder these days. So Raptors basketball for the month of February will be a commitment. But a couple free throws away here from getting a potential ceiling possession. Shout out. So 2nd and 6 from the 10. Seattle not committing to the run game as Darnold drops back. Play action. He finds Walker. Oh, he breaks a tackle, Chad. A big first down. Oh, huge missed tackle. I mean, you still have a opportunity here. 3 timeouts, 4 minutes. You're still a drive away. But you needed to stop there. And we were we being critical of Kenneth Walker for not having big explosive plays, whatever, is this, a 20-yard gain? I don't know if we're going to go back to the stat sheets and be able to recall this one properly. But this is obviously as big of a yards after the, just extra yards pickup, obviously, again, running back, but yards after the catch scenario that you're going to get. And him creating that first down, him creating the time gone now for the Rams. Again, this is a game-winning play, even if it's not a 40, 50-yard run in the second quarter. Still clutch. Another 4 or 5-yard run on the next drive. Keeping it consistent. Keeping it is, it'll probably be 55, 60 yards at the end of the game. Nothing crazy. But if he has a good performance in the Super Bowl, he could be a potential Super Bowl MVP candidate. I know Darnold's had a great year, and his stats here in this game are crazy. Same with JSN. So I imagine that, they'll be the two leaders. It would basically be, if Sam Darnold throws his touchdowns to JSN will win Super Bowl MVP. If Sam Darnold throws his touchdowns to the other guys, then Sam Darnold will win Super Bowl MVP. So it'll kind of be up to his decision there. I guess, and are we riding the Rams? We're riding the Rams obituary with 3.5 minutes left. It's not over. It's not over, but it is starting to look bleak for the Rams. It is what it is. And, Stafford, obviously his best season. Is it tough when the MVP is announced this late in the year that you could potentially be going into an MVP ceremony and not be, looking at a Super Bowl appearance? But it's not necessarily a disappointing season, getting to the Final Four if this is the end of the road for the team. But, incomplete on 2nd and 8, so the clock is stopped. They get to save a timeout. I don't know, are they booing now? Are they booing for a penalty? Are we projecting? I think we're projecting. I don't know. It seemed like it was good defense. So I don't think they would have thrown one there. But maybe booing the play call as well, too, would have been interesting because it was definitely aggressive. Oh, no, he did push. He did push before the football got there. A split second, and when you go to the slow-mo, it's difficult probably in live. And now they have the opportunity to do that. Once the receiver gets the catch, they can actually force him out of bounds. So if it's even more split second now, again, it's like, okay, he had the football and he was being pushed, but was it right before, again, bang, 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 AO, pause. It is what it is. But, that just, again, aggressive play. Because even if he catches that, a first down is still going to set you up to be able to run more clock just by virtue of more plays. So there is that, the longevity of the math there. But even running a play to the sideline where the receiver is going to catch it and fall about, because that's what the play was. The route was a route to the sideline. Great throw by Darnold, dropped it in there. Shaheed basically making the catch if he wasn't pushed, if he wasn't PI'd. So, again, everything worked out. But it is still just a little odd in that scenario. And the run game has been good. Throwing into the middle of the field with Walker has been successful in the second half. Where is he at? 4 for 49. So he's basically, a little smaller sample size, but he's 10 yards a catch consistently for his receiving game. Basically anybody at this point is 10 yards a catch. I guess Darnold is 34 attempts for 325 yards. So, anyway we want to divide the math. They are, able to pick up chunk yardage even if it's just a simpler pass. So again, it's him being aggressive as well too. But regardless, 3rd and 8. I imagine they could still even pick up the first down here on the ground, and that would solve all their problems as well. But at least you give the Rams an opportunity to get the stop, and more importantly, you give them an opportunity to save a timeout. If you run, a simpler play there, they're probably taking a timeout. At least giving them a little compromise for later in the game if they were able to get the football back. And Shaheed, as well as too, like we said, they were utilizing him early pause, but 3 targets is not like a ton throughout the course of the game. Cup at, again, it's a good variety. Cup at 5, Jake Bobo at 2, Barner at 3. I guess the variety, JSN at 11. But again, it's JSN. He's basically been on our MVP ballot the entire year. But maybe this could be the Shaheed playbook as well too, because like we said, a lot of those are some easy plays. Some Shaheed screens, a 3rd and 8 Shaheed screen. The jet sweep, they were all over that earlier, but there's got to be a different way to set that up, or him sweeping around and then that's into the check down. Again, not really a screen, but you get that him running full speed now into that pass, and he's got a head start when he's at the line of scrimmage. Maybe he gets 6 to 6 because again, obviously you could be trying to create chunk plays with those scenarios earlier in the game, but you're just trying to get 6 to 7. He stays in bounds, keep the drive moving. Eventually we're picking up first downs as well. So 3rd and 8 here. We'll see if they go back to the aggressive play calling again. And obviously not really in any type of scoring territory because of where they started. So would obviously be a big win for the Rams defense if they're able to get a stop here. Again, a real championship level, not to say that underratedly, but a real championship level stop here if they're able to get it. They do force pressure, and it's a championship level pass from Darnold. Whoa! He hits Cup. Cup's right at the first down marker. Ooh, a lot of chaos on that play. I mean, Darnold narrowly avoiding the sack, stepping up and putting the throw right on the target. Regardless of what you want to say about his past and, even how he's played against, like we said, these teams specifically, the Rams specifically, he's been brilliant in this game. He's been brilliant. We were watching James Bond before this. He's been brilliant in the last game. He's been brilliant in this game. But I don't know what year of James Bond that is. But it's definitely not James Bond himself. Definitely just a side character that was the impression of there. But he's been obviously just fantastic this entire playoff run, this entire season, and the last couple of regular seasons, if it wasn't just unfortunately for, again, the tough playoff game that he had last year. But the regular season numbers of him and Brady being like him being of the most winning regular season quarterbacks in like a 2-year stretch, and then his actual numbers being really fantastic. And then those teams, it's like, you look at those teams and that Vikings team, it's like they could have made a playoff run against any of those teams if they were obviously, able to survive that first game. And, maybe it's probably better for Darnold that he ended up going to the Seahawks. Like, this team is better all around. I guess the Vikings defense is pretty good, but the Seattle secondary is a little bit more talented. I mean, it's, nearly the best secondary in the league. A little bit more talented than the Vikings secondary. It is what it is. And the front seven is probably a little bit more talented than the front seven. And the receivers, I guess JSN's just having a better season than Justin Jefferson. You can't necessarily say that he's outright a better receiver than Justin Jefferson. You can make an argument, and you can make your ranking. But, their core itself this year has been as productive as it. I guess you get Shaheed versus Jordan Addison's a good comp, though. It's a good comp. Again, he's a dynamic special teams player, and when he actually gets his opportunities, anytime in the Saints as well, too, when you ran plays for him, it's like he would get these big chunk touchdowns. It seems like when you actually gave him the opportunity. So, again, it could just be, okay, well, why is he not always consistently getting the opportunities? He's a little confined because of the way he plays to some of the gadgetry type stuff. I don't know. But, again, obviously this team just in general, and I guess the division was even tougher, though, so it's not like an easier scenario, same conference, tougher division, but again, the team itself, and maybe the home court advantage, even though Minnesota, it's tough, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the old Vikings over there. That's a good team. That's a good situation for our boy McCarthy to be in if he can continue to improve his play there under Kevin O'Connell. But, I mean, and what are we saying? Darnold's going to go into the Hall of Fame now after a couple seasons? But is Darnold the modern day Steve Young? Is essentially the question that we ask ourselves. Again, Steve Young did go into the Hall of Fame, and Steve Young did have, a really impressive 30s. But he was a guy, and he didn't necessarily bounce around the way that Sam Darnold did. He was on Tampa and then went to San Francisco and then was just there until they decided to move on from Montana. They were like, okay, Steve Young's got to have a career at some point. Let's get this guy going. But in terms of, again, the highly talented prospect who did not, of course, necessarily have the numbers and the wins and stuff that you would think early on, but really became that guy. Like, this is that guy. This is the third overall pick, the first round pick that you were projecting back in the draft. If you were really high on Sam Darnold, he makes those creative plays when you need to, scrambling out of the pocket. He's a big time gunslinger, aggressive thrower, maybe a little chaotic sometimes with the picks. We saw that earlier in the career, but as he's figured it out, obviously he's just become really, really consistent and really tuned in that stuff, or he's just on an incredible heater right now and can't miss. Either one could be true, and I'd believe it a little bit. It was like a 2, 3, 4 season heater from Sam Darnold. At some point, a 4 season heater just means you just had a good run. It is what it is. It just means you're a good player. And again, what overall highs will he hit in terms of the run that he's having here? But this is like a legitimate resurgence, a legitimate legacy to find. We saw it with Goff a little bit for the Lions, where again he hasn't been this. I guess he was pretty close to winning a Super or getting to the Super Bowl there against the 49ers that one year. They were pretty close to winning that game, but the fact that he was able to again become the guy that you would actually believe in to lead a franchise that was a number 1 pick that struggled to start his career, and then like we're saying, became that believable, really, really great franchise quarterback to lead the team. And that's of course what Darnold is experiencing right here as well too, in this Seattle run and in this Vikings run. And again, with the Super Bowl potential of it is pretty crazy. I think Steve Young, he got to 2. I would start doing the comparisons. I don't know if he only got to 1. Is it close? Can Sam Darnold actually make the Hall of Fame? Is that a realistic thing if he puts together a couple seasons there? 7 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pros, 2 MVPs. Yeah, I guess his regular seasons were a shocker. A little bit more pedigree than Darnold's. But he was close this year. I don't know. Again, do we look back at the season? Should Darnold have been the MVP this season? It's really close between him and Stafford. Again, Stafford's legacy, for him to have an MVP is just it's a good thing for his career. He's been consistently a top-end quarterback every year. He's won a Super Bowl. His team was in the conference championship, and they're down by 4, and could be down by 1 depending on how McVay calls his plays here a couple minutes ago. And again, obviously with the way Seattle's driving, would they stop? Seattle's in even starting range for a field goal now as well too. Like they would be in position to now go back up 4 pause. But yeah, you do have 2 out of 3 years Steve Young won the MVP. 3 years in a row was the AP first team AP quarterback, and then like we said was able to win 3 Super Bowls as well too, but 2 as the starter, or 1 as he would have been there 88 and 89. So yeah, 1 as the starter. So if Darnold is able to win 2 MVPs, I guess then maybe I guess if anybody wins 2 MVPs, you're probably gonna start racking up a Hall of Fame case at that standpoint. But I guess on the other side of it, if Darnold had won an MVP this year and had made this Super Bowl run, is that enough? Is 1 season of an MVP run like that enough to get you in the Hall of Fame? Because again, we haven't necessarily seen a guy do that for just 1 season. I'm trying to think. It's obviously a credit to the greatness of everybody that's played. Maybe Steve Young, again, like Steve Young won MVPs for multiple years. So even if he actually accomplished the MVP Super Bowl thing only 1 time, he had multiple seasons to show us that it's like, yeah, if, whatever the run could have been, he was capable of doing it a lot of times. It wasn't just like this, hey, this perfect set of circumstances, in a sense, for him to make the run. If we could say that, respectfully. But, Carson Wentz for Philly would have been that. So I don't know if it's Carson Wentz, Nick Foles kind of combined and just the craziness of that. But he almost won the MVP that year and almost won the Super Bowl as well. Like, did win the Super Bowl, but just didn't play. Cam in 2015 won the MVP, didn't quite win the Super Bowl. But Cam, again, like, you would take Cam's career as well. Obviously, maybe do you take Sam Darnold's career at this point and just say, well, we just would have a better team to start. I could build a better scenario at the beginning of it as well. But
Again, it's not like it's not like you could say that Cam's MVP season was his one good season. I mean, the man had 400 yards in his first game, for goodness sake. Like, he was a good quarterback in the NFL. But yeah, there's like the random emergence guy. You know, maybe Rich Gannon. So is he Rich Gannon? Again, Rich Gannon ended up losing to Tampa. So is Darnold gonna lose to the Patriots defense? You know, could be. I don't know, the Patriots defense versus the Rams defense. There definitely is, I think, some talent similarities there. I think if he matches up well against the Rams, he could definitely do the same against the Patriots. But Gannon was 4-time Pro Bowl, 2-time All-Pro. So in Minnesota to start his career, 5-7, 6-5, 8-4 as a 27-year-old in '92, but didn't make a Pro Bowl till 34 in Oakland. So yeah, Kansas City, 2 games played, 4 games, 9 games, 12 games, and then Oakland, 8-8, and then 12-4. So he's 8-8 as a Pro Bowler, I guess. 3,800 yards, 24 touchdowns, 35 as a Pro Bowler in 2000, 36 as a Pro Bowler in 2001, and then won the MVP as a 37-year-old quarterback. Made the first team All-Pro as a 35-year-old quarterback, and then yeah, as a 37-year-old quarterback, won the MVP. Was 4,600 yards, 4,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks, 197.3 quarterback rating that year, 67%. So I guess Gannon not quite in the Hall of Fame, but Gannon's not like too far off. You know, if Gannon has a couple more good seasons, I think he can manage to make his resume get there. But what are we sitting at right now for Sam Darnold? He's had to make a couple of Pro Bowls by now. I don't think he's quite cracked the pause. Hey, yeah, what has he not cracked? To the All-Pro team is what we're talking about. Yeah, two Pro Bowls on the Darnold resume at 27 and 28. So, you know, if he wins an MVP in 10 years at 37, you know, obviously that'd still be a great decade for Sam Darnold. I mean, that if you have a great decade run in the NFL and win an MVP in that mix, you're definitely in the Hall of Fame. So, who would have thought? Who would have thought? Sam Darnold, we could be sitting here going, I mean, is it impossible that Sam Darnold, I mean, you know, again, 23, I mean, you know, what are we going to write a guy off at 23? But he's, look at this, 2-10 on the Jets, 2,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, 11 picks. Like, you're 3 years into your career at that point. Not to say that, again, you know, what are you going to start limiting what guys can do? But he goes to Carolina, 4-7. I guess 4-2 in Carolina is something. Seven touchdowns and 3 picks. We should have known at that point. We should have known Sam Darnold was resurrected. It is what it is. But he was still like 50-some% completion percentage. So it's still a little chaotic as well, too. Because you see, of course, in Minnesota and Seattle, he's been near 2/3% completion percentage. You know, basically completing everything at this point. But 4,300 yards, 4,000 yards, 43, 35, 12 last year. 4,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, 14 picks this year. So, yeah, I think JSN does have maybe a little bit more of an MVP case in terms of the numbers. Again, Sam Darnold has great numbers, but JSN was obviously the exact leader in his category across the board. And again, we could go back and double check even. Have they announced the MVP ballot at this point? I'm imagining they have, because I saw that they were announcing everything else, but I guess I wasn't necessarily locked in on the Instagram. And, you know, obviously you kind of know what it's going to be as well, too. I guess it's just that last spot, like we're saying. Finalists for the MVP include Drake May, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, and Christian McCaffrey. Also, Trevor Lawrence got on the ballot. Hey, yo. Dak Prescott, JSN, and Puka. It's also the Google AI is, I guess, adding those 3 on as well, too. But the top 5, I guess, go into the NFL honors. Is that who it is? May, Allen, Stafford, Lawrence, and McCaffrey. So, yeah, Stafford probably wins the MVP. And like we're saying, JSN's right there in the mix, you know, top 8 player this year for the NFL. So, again, this would be, I guess, going back to what we were saying, us admitting the difference. Like, is just JSN now better than some of these other receivers in the league? Is Sam Darnold now just, you know, the third best quarterback in the league? You know, is he still better than, is he better than Mahomes? You know, are we gonna sit here and say that he's better than Mahomes? We're not.
because we're biased. Is he better than any of those, the big 3, big 4 names? Like, is he better than Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar? We'll throw Stafford in there in like the top 5, like the legacy guys. Is he better than any of those guys as of right now? I don't know if I would directly take him over any of those guys. And then again, you get like Drake May starting for now all of a sudden we're getting into like the career upside of it. Would we take Drake May for the next 10 years or Sam Darnold for the next 10 years? Would we take Caleb Williams or Sam Darnold? But again, for a playoff game right now, it's like he is, again, as good as anybody in the league game to game. Stafford with the big pass, though. 19 seconds left. We can't write him off yet. They've got no timeout, so they're going to have 2 plays to potentially, maybe even 1. I mean, that's about as well executed of getting up to the football as you can have. Everybody getting set. I mean, there's still, just because of the nature of the distance of the play, it's still a long play. Pause. And the Rams, it seems like every year, are literally fighting till the very, very last play to be eliminated from the playoffs. It's a credit to them. And even if Seattle doesn't, or I guess, even if they don't obviously win the Super Bowl, so, a major fight to get past the Rams every year in the playoffs. It seems like the teams that do as well, too, ends up kind of setting the tone that they can obviously achieve that. And again, they're right there as well, too. They'll be making it by winning this game. But, the Rams last year, where every year they leave the playoffs, like I think the Rams next year will be feisty in the playoffs with how close they were in all these games. And, they were right there in the games they got eliminated. They could have potentially won, and them being a Final Four team as well, again, a great case for that. But their defense is still really young, and their offense is obviously just always going to be, at this point, contingent on whether or not Stafford continues to return and whether or not he continues to play at a high level. And, you watch Stafford play, and, you watch LeBron play this year. Like, again, at some point, it's like the turn's going to happen, and we're going to watch it happen. And, we're not necessarily going to be like, I guess somebody's going to be like, well, this is going to be the year, and then they're going to call it correctly. But, again, we might not always have the signs leaving the previous season that this next season is going to be the season in which the tier change happens. For Stafford as a quarterback, he finds Nakua on the sideline. Oh, wait a second. The clock keeps running. There's a lot to process there, but why did the clock keep running? Who was his name? Puka Nakua caught the pass on the sideline. He caught the pass on the sideline falling out of bounds. I mean, it just seemed like on its face that should have been clock stop with 2 seconds left and maybe even one more play. So if we're saying the Rams drama, I mean, geez, taking it down to the last second. Did his knee slide down in bounds? I don't know. I mean, his hips and stuff, his legs start to go down in bounds. His thigh, his back then rolls out of bounds. I don't know. I don't even know how you call that. Like, again, his legs do hit down inbounds, so I guess maybe it is. And then his back rolls out. He's already inbounds at that point. I guess, are they going to hit that last play with 2 seconds left? They need a touchdown there, not a field goal. But that would have been needing the field goal would have helped. I don't know if we can rehash the whole McVay situation of it. Or the way he handled that 4th down there on that last play call. But either way, Seattle, they were the 1 seed going into the playoffs. They have this game at home. Like we're saying, the roster comparison, it could be pretty equal. It would just probably go down to Darnold and Stafford battling it out. You even have, like we're saying, the star wide receivers that are capable of putting up their equal numbers. But yeah, Darnold, a season high for Darnold, 346. Oh, man, stepped up in the biggest way, when they needed him to. He had that awesome Rose Bowl performance against Saquon, and I guess, it was clutch in that game as well. I don't remember. He had like a pick at the end of that game or something. But this is the most clutch that Sam Darnold has ever been in his career, the biggest stage. And like we're saying, Hall of Famer Sam Darnold someday, if he continues to stack these seasons on. And like we're saying, for Stafford, this Rams team should be a competitive team as long as he is able to still, provide them Pro Bowl level play. But just a ton of talented people on this Seahawks team. And honestly, as well too, those couple of mistake plays like we saw earlier with the muffed punt and, the Seahawks again having their own to neutralize that a little bit. But with the muffed punt being a major swing for the Rams side of things, going to be another killer for them looking back at seeing as maybe they could have, potentially had the opportunities to win this game. So we did. I mean, the playoffs obviously have been dramatic. One score, fourth quarter games the entire time. And we had different levels of it here. We had, I guess the high level offense, the great stats, you could say the high level play, and the ugly defense, grinded out game with the Broncos Patriots. But both of them the same drama, I guess, either way. And Patriots Seahawks, the 10-year anniversary, I guess. Is that right? Or 11 years? Was it 14-15 the Super Bowl that was the Malcolm Butler Super Bowl? But who would have thought Sam Darnold versus Drake May in a Super Bowl, starting the year? Would have been a crazy pick, but it makes sense now that we're here, and especially now that Drake May was playing Jarrett Stidham earlier. Makes a little bit more sense, but shout out to Sam Darnold and the Seahawks for winning this one. Shout out to McVay as well too. Sean Payton, I mean, obviously great seasons from the conference runner-ups for either teams. But the Super Bowl is set. Hey, Patriots versus Seahawks. It's going to be exciting, and we are, of course, going to be here on the live stream to follow along. So you can, follow our YouTube to keep up with that. We'll, of course, be here during the week as well, too. We are, like we said, NBA journalists as well. So we'll be following some NBA stuff during the week, maybe some other stuff, throughout the pop culture world as well, too, depending what is going on in the given week. But we are here, of course, Sundays. We're here Tuesday, and we're here Friday as well, too. So we'll be back Tuesday. We'll be on later Friday this week. So, like I said, you can follow along and, tap in this week. Be ready for the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. We'll have some fun stuff next Sunday in place of course, an actual NFL game. Maybe an action, in place of maybe some NBA action. Not quite yet, it's still important. Again, we're NBA journalists, but, maybe there's still some headliner type things that we can focus on in the meantime, but you'll just have to stay tuned. So, it's going to be exciting because it's been an exciting playoffs the entire time. So, this game upcoming is going to be drama, but we've got to be patient. We've got to wait. It is a couple of weeks away, and like we said, we are looking forward to it. So thank you guys for jumping on with us tonight, and enjoy your next couple of days. We look forward to seeing you guys here on the live stream.